Parkway and Appling Road, or visit them at their new location in Jackson, Tennessee. That number is 731-660-5900, or visit them on the web at wolfchaselemonbrace.com.
Dedicated our life to yours. Wolf Chase Lim and Brace.
You already know you can listen to Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7 anywhere with the Sports 56 app or at sports56whbq.com. But you can also keep up to date with everything going on by keeping up with Sports 56 on social media. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch for information on breaking news, chances to win prizes, and video of all the shows. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Stay in touch with Sports 56, 96.1, and 87.7 on social media. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. It's time for Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. The first hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, and Brett Stats Norsworthy.
Good Wednesday afternoon to you on this February 5th, 2020. National Signing Day, round 2 for college football. We'll talk some National Signing Day. Most of the work was done in December, but a lot of it, like for Ryan Silverfield and the University of Memphis staff, that closed very, very, very strong and in the AAC rankings. And that's about all I concern myself with when it comes to the Tigers and football recruiting, is where are they with their peer group? Where are they in the AAC? It closed pretty strong for them. I just think it would be unfair and mostly not germane to the subject to compare Tigers football recruiting to what USC and Texas and Alabama and Florida and Clemson are doing, because they mostly won't play those teams. They're going to play Tulane. They're going to play UCF. They're going to play South Florida. They will play East Carolina. So I always kind of judge it by that. We'll take a look at that. But tonight, a big one in AAC basketball downtown at FedEx Forum against the Temple Owls. Dave Woloshin will be on the call for that one. And Dave, the Tigers, if they shoot free throws like they did Saturday, that'll keep them in good stead the rest of the year, and especially these games at home when we're doing NCAA tournament at large arithmetic. A game like this tonight just has to be won for anybody's math.
I think you're spot on, but to shoot free throws, you've got to attack and get to the line. And Memphis has done a good job of that most of the time, at least for sure. In the non-conference, they're actually not shooting as many free throws or getting more attempts than the opposition when it comes to conference games. And so Penny's got a little dilemma here, I think, as to how much he really wants to run. And how much he wants to get in the half-court sets, which means less turnovers and more, I think, offense is designed to go inside either to a guy like Achua or Lance Thomas, or guys that are able to drive like Lomax was able to in that game and get to the line a whole bunch. And they've been pretty good in clutch situations when they've done that. I want to go back to what I thought was right on the money, the way you described how Memphis has to look at what their recruiting class is. It turned out to be, it was 72 going in today, and they added 4 guys, but other schools around the country added significantly more players. So if you go by the numbers and everything else, I think they slipped a couple. It might have been down to 77, like a 24/7. But it's still, if you look at the ranking per recruit, which was 83.8, and I have no idea, Stats, how they arrive at this number, but they do say it's the highest ranking per kid that the school has ever had, and that includes the great years and the best years, really, that we've had with Mike Norvell. So that is a very good sign for this initial class, which partially does belong to Mike, but closing it all was Ryan Silverfield.
Closing it all was Ryan Silverfield. And I like to judge, as I said, I like to judge the Tigers by their neighborhood, by their peer group, and that is the AAC, and we know the Tigers have thrived in that. We also know this, that now over 2 coaches, and I feel like it will be over 3, over Justin Fuente and over Mike Norvell. Okay, they hadn't been the splashy star rating players out there, but they have shown an ability, a great ability at player development. I think you can say, wherever you are, you pencil in the big name schools. I mentioned Texas, USC, and Clemson and Alabama and those type. You can get them all day. You still have to get them better. Now, the two big kind of recruiting sites I go to Rivals and 24/7, and if you're the number 31 class at one and you're the 36 class at the other one, I just don't want to fight over anything, but I'm just not going to fight over we're really 31 and we're not 36. That one's wrong, this one's right. So we got both of them in front of us. I see the Tigers at 6th in the AAC in Rivals and 5th in the AAC at 24/7.
24/7, yeah, that's the one I saw.
And we know this, again, judging them by the neighborhood, by their peer group, by the league that they actually compete and have competed at a very high level and have won and have been a champion and been distinguished in that league. Cincinnati's 1, Tulane's 2. The overall job that Willie Fritz has done at Tulane, and I'm afraid a little bit last year at coaching carousel time, him being at 59, 60 years old actually hurt him, but he is doing Tulane a great job. They're 2nd, East Carolina 3rd, Central Florida 4th, and the Tigers at 5th in the AAC. But a lot of
and I want to say that a lot of that has to do with numbers, and this goes really all the way back to Larry Porter. So when Justin Fuente took over, he literally could not possibly catch up in the short amount of time he was here because the Tigers had lost so many scholarship players. They were under 65 scholarship players. And so it's been a long process to get up. And then even under Norvell, whose classes, if we're going by stars, and when you talk 24/7 and Rivals, which you mentioned those two, and those are the two I go to mainly. And I really go more to 24/7, to be honest with you. And I have no idea why. I'm sure they're both really good. But, Norvell had everything was a 3-star with a couple of 4-stars in there. But you go back to fit, and that's how you take guys like like Anthony Miller, who, you know what? Anthony was a 0-star. Or guys, and this was Fuente, of getting Alan Cross and getting him in the preferred walk-on category and developing. That's the fit and family
Kenneth
and
Gainwell
feel that Norvell used to talk about. Right. So development is important. And I will say this for Ryan, for the most part, all these guys that he signed were 3-stars. But the numbers, because we had such a light senior class this past year, that's a benefit coming for next year. But, the most he could sign was 18 guys. So if you're up against Willie Fritz and he signed 25, and I'm guessing when I say that because I really haven't looked at what he signed, but I'll bet you it's more than the 18.
It is.
So
it's 20.
when they take all those numbers in there, then you have a chance to get past Memphis. But Willie Fritz, we all said this guy, he's going to get a couple of signature
really
wins.
coach.
He's going to build a program there. He's good,
and he is doing that at Tulane. So we'll have some recruiting conversation. By no means, I don't know if we do anything wall-to-wall, but it's sure not going to be wall-to-wall like we talked about yesterday, as we would have in the old days, but a lot of things have changed. Staples changed through the years, and the 2 different signing days do that. We'll visit with TJ Reeves at 3:30 and get his thoughts on the college basketball world and just how wide open that it is, and in his last thoughts on Super Bowl 54. Mike DeCourcy at 4 o'clock to talk college basketball with us. And we look forward to visiting with the Hall of Famer every week at that time. That's brought to you by the Memphis Tourism and Sports Council at 4:30. Rick Harrow on the Business of Sport. He was the de facto host last week in South Florida for Super Bowl 54, and we'll get all of his thoughts. And at 5 o'clock, Jason Munns. And then we're out here at 5:25 for Ole Miss and South Carolina. A very important game for both of those teams for SEC basketball seeding purposes to try to stay out of having to play in that Wednesday night, on Wednesday night, one of those games in the 11 versus 14 or 12 versus 13 game for that. But it'll be a whole lot of Tigers and Grizzlies talk today as both Hoop City teams go at it tonight. The Grizzlies on the road in Dallas. Mavericks a 4.5, 5-point favorite. And the Tigers downtown at FedEx Forum installed as an 8-point favorite. And a very different looking Temple team than we've been used to the last few years, Dave.
Well, 18 then went to the NCAA tournament last year. They went to Dayton and lost to Belmont. And they were really a good team last year. It was the last year of Frank Dunphy. And we know he was really a Hall of Fame kind of coach all those years at Penn, and then came over across town and took over the Owls program, and they were 23 game winners last year, 23-10, 13-5 in the league. But it is a little different look, and Aaron McKee is probably better known as a player than he is as a coach, although he's an assistant in the NBA and he's been an assistant for Fran Dunphy. But, this guy played a lot of years in the NBA. He started in 1994 when he graduated. He played for John Chaney, and so it's going to be a physical philosophy that he's got. And he lasted all the way to 2007. He played for 4 different teams in the NBA. So he and Penny both had great NBA careers. They played against each other in the pros and in college. So that'll be kind of fun to sort of talk about. And this is, again, a must-win for the U of M. I think every home game is a must-win at this particular point. Memphis is facing a team, the Owls are ranked 104 in the net. I think 104, if it's a home game, I think that's a quad 3. You cannot lose a quad 3 game.
No, you just cannot. And after tonight, Saturday afternoon's game at 3 o'clock against South Florida, and then only 3 games remaining after Saturday's game, the game tonight and the game Saturday, and then 3 more, ECU, Houston, and Wichita State. And both Houston and Wichita State would provide much-needed buttressing of a net rating. But this tonight and Saturday afternoon, it just in any NCAA tournament math, that's got to be W's.
Well, those 5 wins, right? All home games, as you just mentioned, that would get you to 21 wins. And if you win 2 and you get to 23, as we kind of mentioned, I think you're going to be a 10 or 11 seed. If you're 22-9, now you're really, I guess you're flirting with going probably to Dayton or to the NIT unless you make a nice run in the conference tournament. So, you've got to win every home game. There's just no way around that. And then steal one at UConn or at Cincinnati, a team you've already beaten, or a team you should have beaten at home at SMU. You've got to win 1 or 2 of those games. And if you do, I think you're in, but you got to win them.
And it's that time of year where, in a blink of an eye, the season gets away from you. And I'm with you that 23 probably is not white knuckle nervous time if you've done anything at Fort Worth.
Make it.
Yeah.
I think and then anything you get in Fort Worth is gravy. But I think if you get to 23, you're going to get in the tournament, especially this year where it's just so wide open. And I have no idea how many Big Ten teams will get in, how many ACC teams will get in. This is a year of just total uncertainty. And so if you keep winning and you get to 23, you can probably make some form of case. It can't hurt. I mean, Memphis comes in today at 51 in the net. If you were to beat Houston and you were to beat Wichita State at home, that would have to help your net enough where I really believe you'd have enough quad 1 wins then that would get you past what you got to get to. And, who knows? Maybe some other crazy things would occur. Maybe you'd do something nuts and win in Houston, which would be very unlikely.
Sure could. And TJ Reeves will join us at 3:30. His mantra this time of year is it's win ball games and take it out of the jury and the selection committee's hands. This hour brought to you every day by Lexus of Memphis, 2600 Ridgeway, and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Call them at 901-362-8833. Lexus of Memphis offering the Golden Opportunity February sales event. Great offers on all those beautiful 2020 cars and always very special lease options. Great option ideas at Lexus of Memphis. If you've ever thought I'd look great in a Lexus, well, guess what? Lexus of Memphis thinks you would look outstanding in one of their beautiful cars, whether you buy it or you lease it. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of an all-new 2020 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking and driving in style. Lexus of Memphis, the highest standards in the industry. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design that makes for the luxury driving experience. 901-362-8833. Online, lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Dave?
Well, to me, it is signing day, and we mentioned Memphis got 4, so a total of 18. Marcus Henderson, the big kid from MUS, he ended up going to
Arkansas.
Arkansas
had a good Shelby County year.
How about the fact that he had a connection with Barry Odom, who recruited him from Missouri?
Uh-huh.
And even though he's a defensive guy, and this is an offensive lineman, that swung at South Haven offensive lineman Khalil Benson, who's huge, 6'6", 305. He ended up going to Indiana. But here's the biggest story for me tonight. 2 Memphis lawmakers, Antonio Parkinson and Brian Kelsey, introduced to the Tennessee General Assembly a resolution requiring the University of Memphis and the University of Tennessee to play football and basketball annually starting in 2025. Now, staff, I love it. I have no idea how they feel about it in Middle Tennessee or in East Tennessee, but I guarantee every legislator in West Tennessee is going to go, okay, we're for that.
They probably will be. I love when the legislature gets involved in scheduling. I'm sure they just had nothing else to do. Everything else at the state level going fine. But we'll see if it happens. Tennessee has basically said pound sand on playing football.
You know what? I have a feeling that'll be hard to pass. But I would love it if it was. That would just absolutely help the Memphis program immensely. And I think fans here would love it. I think fans everywhere would love it for basketball. I don't know that it's feasible for football, but my goodness, if they agreed to play once every 4 to 6 years, that would be outstanding.
Dave, we had a state legislator one time, not my esteemed senator now, nor either his dad or his brother. They have had a distinguished legislative career, but we had a state representative. His only bill, not one time, his only bill he ever introduced in front of the Arkansas General Assembly, and it was to fire Frank Broyles.
Well, obviously he was not a very successful legislator.
He did not get it done. My top story of the day, Hoop City with 2 big ones tonight. FedEx Forum, the setting for Tigers in Temple, and the American Airlines Center in Dallas for the Grizzlies and the Mavericks. And any NCAA tournament math you can come up with, this one tonight's got to be in the left-hand column. They don't draw pictures. There's no style points. It's not platform diving. Just win. If it's 46-45 in the ugliest thing we've ever laid eyes on, they just have to win. Grizzlies in Dallas against the Mavericks, and a pretty free shot for the Grizzlies tonight as the underdog against the Mavs. Would be a great way to start a 3-game road stretch for the Grizzlies. 2-0 tonight in Hoop City would be large.
Ooh, it would be humongous. When we look at the 2 teams, I think it's pretty clear. Memphis needs the W more than the
much
Grizz
more.
do, but it would be huge for the Grizz to get it because that would be one that you're sort of not really expecting. I have not heard, is Luka Doncic going to play in this game?
I haven't seen.
If Luka doesn't play in this game, we know Porzingis is still really coming back. He's not in the best of game shape. I would have to think, I know the line favors the Mavs, but that might be something you ponder because I think the Grizzlies, if Doncic doesn't play and Porzingis is not 100%, Memphis has a real chance of winning this game.
And Friday night against Philadelphia, we know Joel Embiid will be out.
Right.
Top story of the day.
Well, there's a couple here. One is these 2 nuts in a car broke through the line as the Kansas City Chiefs were celebrating their Super Bowl at a parade. They actually got into the road where the parade was going on. The police acted really quickly, really, really smart, and they ended up sandwiching the guy, wedging him into a stop. Nobody was hurt. Of course, the driver was impaired. But the other one for me, Stats, is Pete Rose. He is now, through lawyers,
of course he is,
Commissioner Rob Manfred to remove him from the Major League Baseball ineligibility list, using as an argument Manfred's own decision not to punish players guilty of game-changing infractions like sign stealing. Well, if you noticed, those were players that he let go when Rose was knocked out of the game because he was betting on baseball. He was a manager who could control things. To me, that's not even applicable. I don't know why he's doing it. And you know, the one guy that I certainly hold strong in my mind doesn't get in to the Hall of Fame, and that's what this is about, doesn't get recognized by baseball until he's gone, is Pete Rose. Now, I do believe his numbers as a player mean he should get in.
Oh, sure.
No doubt in my mind. But he does not deserve any of that honor, any of that glory until he's gone, because he made the most egregious sin of all, betting on baseball. And forever, since the 1800s, they posted in clubhouses, you cannot bet. And for him to try this again almost makes me think, because they're changing the rule about banned players after death. Well, he should be just thinking, you know what, my legacy's going to be good in the long run. I should just shut my mouth because I keep putting my foot in my mouth every time I open.
And he has, Dave, and it wasn't just the original indiscretion. It was also the fight that he fought with Bart Giamatti. He lost. He also signed. He signed with, free will. He signed agreeing to the lifetime ban, and then he went on a 14, 15-year campaign of everybody lied, everybody's out to get me, poor old Charlie Hustle, and then he had to tell, I really did bet on the game.
And now Stassy's even admitted that he should have told Giamatti at the very beginning.
Exactly.
That he did it, and it would have worked out for him.
I think he'd already be reinstated if on the day that he signed the lifetime ban really come clean, but he never could. But I am softening. I'm for sure posthumous. He goes in slam dunk.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if there's a baseball Hall of Fame, Peter Edward Rose deserves to be in it because he was the best switch hitter ever in how he played, how tough he played. But I'm even softening maybe much more. If used to, it was 0% chance for me to let him in while he was alive. I don't know where I am now, but it's 20s, 30%. I mean, I have softened my not top story. You mean the Marlins didn't trade for Mookie Betts? I can't believe it. Or the Detroit Tigers, or for that matter, about 25 teams we could rattle off. Only a select few could make the deal that the Dodgers made, and now the pressure really is going to be on Dave Roberts. He's won a lot. He's won everything that you can win except for having a parade. And they haven't had a parade in 32 years. It's been a long time since Kirk Gibson stumbled around those bases.
You give me Mookie Betts and David Price, and you don't have to give much except that you got to pay them. I want that deal if I'm Dave Roberts.
Every
Heck
time.
Yeah, give me the pressure. I think I can win for sure.
Every time. Just fill the lineup card out every night. Dave's on his way to FedEx Forum for the Tigers and Temple tonight. I'm in our Family Leisure Studios where family and fun comes together. Help us make room for the incoming inventory. Save thousands on all floor model spas, floor model play gyms, up to 50% off at Family Leisure. Patio furniture, 10 to 50% off. Don't wait until May to purchase your swimming pool. Buy now and get scheduled for spring installation at Family Leisure. Additional discounts on all swimming pools, grills, fire pits, outdoor kitchens, all at Family Leisure, 2120 Witten Road, just north of I-40. You're listening to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats on Real Sports Talk, AM 560, 87.7, and 96.1.
Want to get your voice heard? Hit us up on the First Bank phone line or First.
Lehman Schonia, he lost to the German Spaz Lenov, wasn't very happy about it, and somebody had to pay the price, David, so just be careful when you are inside in the future. Has anybody ever seen anything like this before, Alan?
I've never seen anything like that.
Cross it goes, and Vodka couldn't play it. It would have been offside. It'll be bounced out, scores!
Rather terribly for Mike Condon, beaten a couple times from in close, and here from 140 feet. Ugh.
Miami FC versus Puerto Rico FC. Miami FC on a breakaway. Puerto Rico defender tries to block the shot, but that's not a
That's what happened. Oh, that's terrible. My God. The humanity, the pain for Ramon Martín del Campo. Odell Beckham facing off against Josh Norman again. Norman picks him up, carries him to the sideline, then holds his hand up.
Mr. Ref, I didn't do anything. Beckham was visibly frustrated as the game was going on against the Redskins. Hits the kicking net and the kick net. It hits back. He even cried on the sideline, lost his cool on the sidelines.
It ain't a good look.
Keep your emotions in check. Odell Beckham, baby. Come on, man.
Guy's proposing, but he loses the ring, Tim.
Oh, look at him. Oh, he's freaking out. You know this guy spent all his money he's got.
She is looking. They're all looking for a diamond, allegedly, a diamond ring.
Please find it so I can feel better right now.
Wait a second.
Yo, we made it.
Yes. In the jacket. Yes. Shook the coat. And she found the ring.
Russian Premier League soccer, where the show must go on for this sideline reporter.
Красота. Группа хода этого матча. И становится еще бокрее и бокрее. Но все равно продолжаю.
First, I thought somebody was standing off camera with a hose, because those are some powerful sprinklers.
Hats off to that. That is not easy.
This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Dave Woloshin, the voice of the Tigers, he will be courtside tonight for the big game. They're all the biggest game of the year now, and we talked about the NCAA tournament arithmetic between the Tigers and Temple tonight. So I'm looking forward to getting downtown and seeing the Tigers. I hope they shoot free throws like that again. John Calipari once said, we'll make them when we need to, or when they matter, and they mattered Saturday, and they made them. To talk all things college basketball and some thoughts on Super Bowl 54. He will be part of the host city next year when Super Bowl 55 gets to Tampa. TJ Reeves joins us now at this time every Wednesday afternoon. TJ, the ball's in Tampa St. Pete's court now.
It is. They officially handed it off after what was a dramatic finish the other night. It's good to be with you guys. We'll circle back and talk some hoops. Promise we would do that in a moment or two, but the parade scene in Cincinnati is yet another reminder of how sports can just basically bring a community, an area, a region together, and you look at 1 million people, or right at it, freezing to death today in downtown Kansas City to be part of that celebration, which they've not had one for the Chiefs in 50 years. So, and it was almost going to be at least 51 or more until Patrick Mahomes saved the day, guys. I know you've talked about it a lot, but he helped rally them, or else they were still going to be on the hook for the drought on Sunday.
First guy, TJ, to in 3 straight games rally his team from double digits down. I think clearly he's the new face of the National Football League.
Dave's president of the fan club, TJ.
He'll replace very well. You know, I said all along he was the best of the guys. I'm also the same guy that introduced you both to Jimmy G, and look, he ended up in the Super Bowl. So I'm just saying seriously. I think this is the guy that is going to sell this league for the next 10 years.
Well, I mean, it's tough to argue with that, although 2 points. The first one is there's no guarantee that they're going to get back there. Ask Dan Marino, who was there in year 2 and was never there again. And Steve Young won one of these and was brilliant with a 6-touchdown performance. The 49ers looked unbeatable, and he never got back there as the starting quarterback for the remaining few years of his career, so you never know on that one. But Mahomes definitely marketable. There's no doubt about that. And I know Brett loves these. You mentioned the 3 playoff wins, double-digit comebacks. That's never been done before. He now has 4 of those in his career. He has 4 double-digit comeback wins. Kurt Warner had 4 his entire career, and he's in the Hall of Fame, where his team was down by double digits. Now, granted, the greatest show on turf was ahead a lot of the time. They weren't behind a lot of the time, but that's still remarkable when you consider that.
Well, it is. That is remarkable. Go ahead, Dave.
Well, I was going to say, since you mentioned the greatest show on turf, your thoughts about Isaac Bruce finally getting into the Hall of Fame. I think he was a player at Memphis when you were a student.
That's I think yes, he was right around the same time, late 80s, early 90s, and obviously momentous because he's the first Tiger ever to get the Hall call. And I remember I got the opportunity to interview him on a couple of occasions. There was one occasion where we were talking to Super Bowl MVPs, and it was I believe for Fox Sports Radio that I was doing this, or for Super Bowl heroes as he was in that Rams Super Bowl. And then I got to talk to him again, being a Hall of Fame semifinalist or finalist, about what an honor it would be if he was to go in. So it's just neat to have that happen for the program and for him. Bruce, and of course, Dave, he was there at the Cotton Bowl and was part of the festivities with the Tigers in Dallas for the matchup with Penn State as one of the prominent alumni. So it'll be a proud moment, that's for sure, come August in Canton, Ohio, when a Memphis Tiger, and I'll even say a Memphis State Tiger, which he is, goes into the Hall of Fame.
It would be really fun this year in Canton for Tiger fans to watch that, and it was about time. And he was kind of the last of the great causes. I guess maybe Tony Baselli, the mantle would now shift to him. But the conversation of, come on, why isn't this guy in? From the Veterans Committee forever, it was Jerry Kramer, and he finally got in. A little bit before that, Harry Carson. And I always liked the kind of the policy that Harry Carson adopted. The year before he finally got the Hall call, as you called it, TJ, he finally said, all right, that's it. No more begging, no more campaigning, no more working Radio Row and politicking and trying to, persuade people to my side. Either put me in or leave me alone. And the next year he got in. It was really good policy. There's not many causes left. Isaac Bruce was the last great, this is ridiculous, he's not in, and now he's in.
The thing that bugged me about it was this. The guy had over 1,000 catches, 15,000 yards, something crazy. He was, when he retired, the number 2 all-time leading receiver in the history of the game. He's still, to this day, number 5. And I guess the biggest rationale, and I get it, the biggest rationale was he wasn't an all-pro enough times. And if we go by the rationale, you got to be the best of your era. I guess all-pro and Pro Bowl appearances is an indicator. But don't you have to look at the total body and look and add up and everything? And go, well, wait a second.
Agreed. And you caught the game-winning bomb touchdown in a Super Bowl, which always seems to trump other things, other comparisons. What did you do in the postseason? What did you do in the biggest moments? And he answers that question. And on the Baselli point, obviously, longevity is one of the criticisms there of his career. But when you only play 5 years in the 1990s and you're named to the All-Decade team, that's pretty remarkable. He played from 1995 to 99 and was a All-Pro 4 times in that decade and named to the All-Decade team. And it's got to be frustrating for him. And he's handled it with class as well, Baselli, with the Jacksonville media and even on Radio Row, et cetera.
Yeah, you have to.
Where they've put in other left tackles, his contemporaries, over and over again. They put in another offensive lineman in Steve Hutchinson this time as well, and he didn't get in. And John Lynch is in that category. Wolo, we talked about this in your absence last week, that Lynch is the GM now of the 49ers, but he was as hard a hitting and physical safety as there was in the NFL. He doesn't have overwhelming stats, but he was one of the anchors of the culture change of the Buccaneers with Warren Sapp and Derek Brooks, who are now in the Hall of Fame and winning a Super Bowl. And then Lynch left here when the Bucs released him in a salary cap move and went to 4 Pro Bowls in Denver and played in playoff games in Denver. So Lynch has probably got that same case. He's now been a finalist 7 times in a row without getting in, and they put another safety in Steve Atwater. So that's a little frustrating, and Palomalu too.
I agree with that. I can't tell you how many times when we were talking about the success of the 49ers, and they would bring up John Lynch and what he's done. What a remarkable job, coming from the broadcast booth basically to being the kingpin of this resurgence. Every time they mentioned he should be in the Hall of Fame, and I tend to agree with them.
Every time, I do too. Let's do this quickly. And it's great to go to Pro Football Ref and look at in the leader section, and for all-time yardage for receivers to now see that little cross, the plus sign that indicates Hall of Famer by Isaac Bruce's name. We're going to go over people that don't have that by them, and we know Larry Fitzgerald will. I'm pretty sure Steve Smith will. Reggie Wayne will. Y'all tell me, Anquan Bolden someday?
Debatable, although he has a ring.
Henry Ellard?
Debatable on Anquan Bolden. Debatable on Steve Smith, by the way. Who was the next one?
Henry Ellard?
Henry Ellard?
Henry Ellard probably not getting in. He hadn't gotten into this point unless the veterans do it, and he doesn't have a ring.
Well, Torrey Holt's behind him in yardage.
How long, when you guys talk about a guy like Ellard, how long do you get with the senior committee, and how many chances do you get?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that works.
And they've changed.
They
changed the rules. They changed it again for this year and put more of them in. But now there is a special version of their voting block where they look at the older players again, and Henry Ellard would probably be combined on that. And again, for a lot of the sub 35-year-olds, they don't know who we're talking about. So that tells you that he's got a real uphill battle to get in for the Hall of Fame. But
Antonio Gates,
who was Antonio Gates?
Yeah,
that's debatable too. I mean, he has great numbers as a pass catching tight end. I don't know that you have any of those that you would say, yes, definitely, surefire besides Fitzgerald. I think Fitzgerald has been iconic for long enough.
Yeah.
That would be the one out of the group for the receivers.
Yeah.
All right, TJ, it's a wide open year in college basketball. I think that's fine. I think it's fine for the sport. I kind of like on this February 5th, we can't write in the Final Four like we really could in college football most of the year. I like the wide open aspect of it, and it really feels like it could be somebody more shocking than ever to be the national champion.
Well, and that's not a bad thing. And you look right now up at the top for whatever the rankings are worth, and you've got a Gonzaga, and you've got a San Diego State, and you've got a Dayton. And most college basketball fans would be hard-pressed to name more than maybe the coach or a player on any of those teams. Most everybody would know Mark Few's name, but who knows the name of John Dutcher, the coach at San Diego State, and how many people still think that Steve Fisher is the coach at San Diego State, and further don't realize that Fisher hasn't been there for 3 years at San Diego State. So it just tells you these are stories that we get familiar with come March when we start to watch them in the tournament. And look at Texas Tech and Auburn making a run to the Final Four last year. Nobody had either one of them really on the radar to be a Final Four team when the NCAA tournament began last year. So it's a great time to debate all of this. If I can, I'm going to plug for the Three Dog Thursday podcast that's going to be out tomorrow. I just got done before I jumped on with you guys interviewing Jerry Palm of CBS Sports, CBSSports.com, and Jerry also will be part of their Saturday pregame show where they're revealing the selection committee, the 16 teams, the 1 through 16 that they have right now. It's not 1 through 68. The committee will reveal that, and then Jerry will have some comments. Seth Davis, Clark Kellogg will have some comments. And it's interesting because he made that very same point of a year ago, we didn't know about Auburn, we didn't know about Texas Tech till we got into March, and it's kind of the same thing. And it may not be San Diego State or Gonzaga or Dayton or one of those. It may be somebody else that rises up as kind of a mid-major, like a Loyola Chicago did or like a Wichita State did, and on, and makes their run or makes their move. So, again, I had fun talking to him on the Three Dog Thursday podcast, and here's a tease, Wolo. We talk a lot about Memphis because he's got Memphis on the bubble, and he's laying out a lot of different stuff about the Tigers and what they have left in front of them compared to some of the other teams. He right now, you can see this on CBSSports.com, Jerry Palm has them in. Not everybody else has them in. He has them in. And so we debate that
most
on
people,
the Three Dog Thursday podcast.
Most people do have them in, and most people now have them going through Dayton in the first four. So I'm not sure that I've seen any of the bracketologists that are at least recognized that do not have Memphis in. And we've already talked. Memphis has to win every home game without a question and probably steal one or two on the road to get in as an at-large team. I'll point out, too, every week on middays with Eli and Greg, Jerry Palm has been a part of their program for years.
There you go. There you go.
We are very familiar with him. So I'm just going to do this little quick exercise with you. The top 16 teams: Baylor, Gonzaga, Kansas, San Diego State, by the way, is the only team I have not seen, so I really cannot comment on them. Louisville, Dayton, Duke, Florida State, Maryland, Villanova, Auburn, Seton Hall, West Virginia, Oregon, Kentucky, and Michigan State. Out of those 16 teams, I really believe at least 12 could win the national title. That is how crazy this year is.
I would agree with that. I think it is
I'd
wide
go
open
16.
because, a year ago you had Texas Tech with a ball in the air in Minneapolis to win the national title. And it clanked off the rim, and it went to overtime, and Virginia went on to win the national championship. So, truly, I agree. I think last year Duke was the preeminent thought with Zion and being number one most of the season, although it kind of shifted back and forth between like Tennessee and a couple of other ones. But Duke was thought of as the favorite to win the national title, and they didn't even make it to Minnesota. So you don't know. Okay, so one more tease, because you guys love this, because we talk about this stuff with the spreads on the Three Dog Thursday podcast. This is hilarious. I'll tease it. I want the audience to come find it. It's in addition to Jerry Palm. I have a buddy of mine in Florida who went out to bet the Super Bowl. He does this all the time. He went to bet the Super Bowl last weekend and flew back in the middle of the night last Saturday night from Las Vegas back to Tampa. He went ahead for the heck of it. He had been playing 2 or 3 different college basketball parlays. He had won one of them that was smaller. He had lost another one. He did an 8-team parlay, late-night college basketball, and won it last week, including 2 cliffhangers where he flew on the plane and went to sleep and didn't know what happened and woke up in Tampa and found out he won.
Yeah.
So how about he hit 8 for 8, not with the spread, 8 for 8 outright winners on his parlay and made a boatload of money, and he showed me the ticket.
That's great.
So that's on the Three Dog Thursday podcast as well. So there you go.
First of all, I would not recommend that to anybody because that's almost impossible. But since he did it, tell me on a $5 bet or whatever his bet was, what do you win? How much money do you win for that?
He bet 200, and he won a whole lot more than 200. So I'm teasing again. Start using multiples of 200 on an 8-team parlay to win, and it even involved late-night games with teams like Northern Colorado, Montana, and Hawaii. It's a great story on the Three Dog Thursday podcast.
He's a nut, that guy.
TJ,
sure.
You know what you call that story? Gambling.
Yes, and why they have billion-dollar facilities in Vegas, because we think we all have it figured out, and they have it figured out.
TJ, enjoy the next week. We'll catch up. Okay, go ahead, Dave.
Can I do one more quick thing? Golf. Brad and
Pebble
I
Beach
have
tomorrow.
a little disagreement. Tony Finau, I know he didn't come through when he should have in Phoenix, but I still think Tony Finau is going to win a major this year. Give me your thoughts on Tony. Did he choke? What's his future?
Well, I think when Webb Simpson duck hooked that ball on what was it, 15
into the drink,
and Finau did not put it away with a 2 or 3 shot lead. It gives you great concern about whether he can close the deal or not. We'll see. I mean, obviously he's got the length to be in contention, but I don't know that he's the major champion this year. I don't know which side you're on, Wolo, but I will say no to Finau for a major this year. It sounds like you're on
the wrong side, TJ.
I'm no forever, not just this year, but forever. I think he's the new Matt Kuchar. Wins a lot of money, smiles, gets his winner's check every now and then in Dallas and Hartford. Never does anything in a major. TJ,
we'll see.
Have a good week. We'll visit with you next Wednesday. Thank you, sir.
Always good to be with you. Wolo, go get a Tigers win tonight. And again, the Three Dogs Thursday podcast has those stories. I know I'm plugging away. Go find the podcast wherever you find podcasts.
You got it, TJ. I know TJ has Mark Wise on his podcast. We will have Mark Wise with us on college basketball tomorrow at 3:30. He is in Oxford tonight as part of the announced team on the South Carolina and Ole Miss game. We take this break, round out hour number 1.
Can
Sure.
I tell you something? You know that the Valentine's Day is right around the corner. It's coming.
Yeah.
And I got a place for you to go, for you and your significant others. That's you too. I'm talking Butcher Shop. The Butcher Shop, which we all know for Hamburger Friday and the Sunday brunches and, of course, the steaks. They've got a Valentine's Day special coming at Walnut Grove and Germantown Road, right next to the Agri Center, not just on D-Day, the 14th, but on the 15th and the 16th as well. Start with appetizers, spinach and artichoke or Cajun shrimp. And then we've got fillets or strips or ribeyes, or there's incredible chicken dish they got, or lobster. Then there's dessert, and there's coffee, and there's tea, and you can have all of this for under $100 per couple. Wow. It's always really, really fun to go to the butcher shop. Make it special this particular V-Day. Go and see my friends and enjoy and enjoy and enjoy. And that reminds me also, we love Valentine's Day, and we love making you a hero. We will be at Dinstall's this coming Monday, the one on Pleasant View. You know, they got 4 of them now. They got Laurelwood, Germantown, Collierville, and in time for V-Day, they're opening up that special new one downtown on Main Street in Peabody Place. But we're going to be at the one on Pleasant View where they make all the candy this coming Monday. It'll start with Greg and Eli at 10. It'll go through Johnny Hardaway. We'll close it down at 6. We got all kinds of giveaways. If you come by that day, 14% discount on any purchase over $14. I'm going to tell you, start coming at 10 o'clock and say hello to all of us. It's going to be a big Monday, Brett.
It will be a big Monday. That's this coming Monday, the 10th, at Dinstall's. This hour about to wrap up. When we come back, we will do that on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats on Real Sports Talk, AM 560, 87.7, and 96.1 FM.
Start your day with Sports 56.
The history of sporting events.
I loved his face.
I would suspect that fan is done for the night. Here's the thing. When you steal something, don't wear it.
Are you okay?
I had forgotten I had something there.
What? Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Forget about the $90 fries. Are you kidding me?
All right, I got this one.
I got it. No. And the dog.
Well, he did get the ball.
What?
That's the same guy. This goes really serious business.
And the same guy.
It's the same guy.
Same guy's ticked off.
He lost his first meal, and then he just lost his second meal.
One away from Verdugo, swings it. It's a fly ball on her right. And going back is Borenstein. The ball is off his glove and over the fence for a home run.
Actually, the ball bounces off the outfielder's head and over the fence.
But there is still a long way to go, and he almost went there. He almost went with that left hand. And Maxwell looking a little bit groggy, and a face which tells a story. Oh, great shot! Left hand, right hand from Maxwell. Well, where did that come from? I can hardly believe what I've seen. An astonishing turnaround. He gets to his feet, and he stopped it. He stopped it. Sam Maxwell turns that fight around, and where did that come from? He looked as though he was spent. He looked as though he was all over. He looked as though one more big shot from Sadiri and he'd be gone. And then he produced that. Quite extraordinary.
And then a terrible snap. Smith is going to have to go all the way back. He didn't secure it. It's still off the snap. Get out the calculator for 4th and goal on this one.
Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Temple and the Tigers tonight at FedEx Forum. We know the status for the Tigers, and Dave, and I think TJ just slightly misspoke. It wasn't misrepresentation. I haven't seen any bracketologists. I mean, not any credible, not traditional site, non-traditional site. Everybody has the Tigers in. Now, the common denominator, it's precarious, and it's why tonight's game is an absolute must.
They're all. I'm telling you, I think every home game is a must because you got to get to 23 or certainly 22 W's, and to do that, the math is simple. You've got to
harvest those home wins
at home, and honestly, you've got to beat teams that are the poor net teams. And this has been a rough year for Temple. They actually started off good. I mean, they were 4-2 4-0. They had wins over LaSalle. They had wins over USC. They had a win over A&M. And early on, you thought that was pretty good. And then they did win their last game, and they have beaten Wichita State. That's their best American Athletic Conference win. But, man, they struggled. They had lost 4 in a row before that win against East Carolina, and that's that's not a great team. And 7 of their last 8. So, you're talking about a team that's down on their luck at the moment. You can't lose to them at home. There's no way.
No, and they had a loss to Penn, but that's not a terrible loss. I want to say I think I watched some of that A&M game. Buzz Williams in his first year at A&M, they're not very good, but he's got them playing hard. They put it on Mizzou last night, and Buzz Williams is he will do them a great job if it can be done at Texas A&M in basketball.
I'm with you. There are certain guys, and I think Buzz Williams is, that just figure out ways to get their teams to play hard without absolutely destroying their psyche, or they start to hate them. And, to me, the best guy at that is Sean Calipari. He takes these guys, and they're used to really being really talented and not having to play hard, and he beats them up psychologically until they play hard. And they don't hate him. They love him. So, and I think Buzz Williams is that same kind of guy. I really thought, and we've been wrong, Shaka Smart certainly hasn't done the job at Texas, but I thought Buzz Williams was about as good a coach as A&M could get.
Yeah, I thought it was a real blockbuster hire for them to get him. But the SEC, I think there are 1 or 2 teams that can maybe more than that can make a Final Four, Elite 8 run. I think Auburn's certainly among that. Kentucky's among it. I think LSU, that they are in that grouping. Arkansas had a heartbreaking loss last night in overtime to Auburn at Bud Walton Arena. I don't think Arkansas was ever a Elite 8 or Sweet 16 run team, and now their NCAA prospects could be starting to get a little more precarious. And they've got a big injury.
I watched some of that game the other night, the Auburn Arkansas game, and last night, and I thought Arkansas was going to win the game because I thought Auburn was playing terribly. Auburn did not play well and still wound up winning that game. There's no doubt in my mind. Auburn and Kentucky are the 2 best teams in the SEC, and they're the ones that have a chance to make any kind of run in postseason play. I think Florida's a pretender. I thought Arkansas, and they will, because Musselman's a heck of a coach. He's another guy that gets teams to play hard, but they're not there yet, and that was evident to me last night.
Yeah, it got it to overtime, and you thought Auburn had them then. If Arkansas didn't get them last night with the hangover effect of defeating Kentucky and traveling, pretty quick turnaround from Saturday to Tuesday with a day of traveling there on Monday, when Bruce Pearl got it to overtime, I thought he pretty much had them, and he did. But Eric Musselman having a good year. I want to watch LSU more, and we'll talk with this about Mike DeCourcy and a lot more from college basketball here in a few minutes, because they were rolling this time last year, and the scandal hit. This might be the time to make up for it.
Or maybe the scandal gets hit again. You know what? We're still waiting for that other shoe to fall, aren't we? I don't know what's happened with that, but I do know that LSU has some good pieces, and they haven't lost in the SEC. I know that too. I don't know what it is, and I've watched them play a couple of times. I just don't think that team is built for a long, long run.
We'll see. Dave, I know you've got to get to FedEx Forum. We'll see you down there tonight for Tigers and Temple. Tips at 7 o'clock. Look forward to it. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.
Me too. You got it.
You got it. Dave Woloshin calling the Tiger game tonight. He's back with us tomorrow afternoon for a full show. Also this weekend, the debut of the XFL. And we have talked about it, Drew, some off there. I won't be near the TV Saturday because I'm going to be at college basketball. All their games are afternoon, early matinee, even 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock. Nothing in prime time, kind of when the day's over for me. And I don't know how much I'm going to watch Saturday or Sunday. I don't know that I want to give any more leagues football a try that doesn't say NFL or college football. I've tried them. I'm so glad we didn't get one here. It hadn't worked. It won't work. I think they'll finish the season unlike the AAF. But I'm through with it, and I think they're advertising for the love of the game totally bogus. It's not for the love of the game. Vince McMahon, and he rightly should. He absolutely should. He wants to make money. His network partners, they want to make money. They at least don't want to lose a pile, especially the first year. And those players, they want a shot at the NFL. They're not playing for you have to have some love for it, but they're not playing for free.
No, they're not. They're playing for that paycheck. And I guess I'm just young and naive because this is only the second time a professional league has come up in my lifetime. Obviously, I haven't been through.
This is the second XFL.
Second XFL in my lifetime, but that I can remember, it's only the first. I mean, you've gone through the WFL, USFL, the AAF,
CFL,
XFL, CFL. So I guess I'm naive. I'm probably going to watch some Sunday just due to the fact that I'll be preoccupied with a Tiger game at 3 o'clock on Saturday. But I'll tune in and give it a shot. I just hope that the product on the field is better than what we saw in the AAF.
And I don't know that it will be much better because there's just so many football players out there. There's just so many quality quarterbacks. And I think the football market, I think we have a pretty discerning taste. We know if we're watching good football. And I knew immediately that among all those leagues that have been through here, I knew immediately the AAF was standing out as the worst. Mike DeCourcy, he starts hour number 2. Stay with us. You're listening to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats on Real Sports Talk, AM 560, 87.7, and 96.1.
You're scrambling around.
I have to kind of stifle laughing because I thought it must have looked pretty funny.
26 up, 26 down. Here comes number 27. Ground ball, right side. Cabrera will cut it off. Galarraga covers. He's out. No, he's safe. He is safe.
Why is he safe? Oh, my goodness, Jim Joyce. No.
Absolutely horrible call. A perfect game taken away.
Oh, my goodness, Armando. I'm sorry for you, big fella.
Plenty of time with 4.7 remaining. Hill misses. Rebound goes to the Cavs. J.R. Smith brings it back out. Throws it to Hill. Hill shot blocked. And we'll go to overtime. You get the feeling J.R. Smith thought they had the lead.
He didn't know the score.
Exactly.
And LeBron James was trying to get a timeout.
And LeBron James is wide open at the top when he gets the rebound.
And they had a timeout left.
That's a bad mistake by J.R. Smith.
You got to know the score. That's just kind of basketball.
Did you know if he knew the score? Thank you.
Years ago, we talked to Tom Moore, then at Indianapolis, the offensive coordinator. You got a busted play, and then going into the end zone.
Mark Sanchez not expecting it, and it was the back
here, and then Sanchez gets hit. The ball is loose, and it's
get down. I slid right into Brandon Moore, and that was kind of a unfortunate deal there. I'm not a big believer in luck, but that was pretty unlucky. So, it was really too bad.
I have never seen this before in my life. The boys bank it back for Truma.
Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Dave back with us tomorrow after calling tonight's game against Temple, a big one for the Tigers that we have spelled out, and everybody knows the arithmetic. that the home math has to be at or near perfection the rest of the way. Temple, USF, ECU for sure, and at worst a split between Houston and Wichita State, and to make it really comfortable on Selection Sunday for one of those coveted at-large berths, sweep those, and then go out and get something on the road that maybe we're not expecting, like at Houston on the last day of the regular season, Sunday, March 8th. Talk college basketball with us. He's with us every week at this time, and we love having him. From the Sporting News, college basketball Hall of Famer, part of the Basketball Writers Association of America Hall of Fame. Mike DeCourcy joins us now. Mike, I want to start somewhere away from college basketball we can. I love the column you knocked out late Sunday night about Andy Reid and him finally getting his title, and your treatises that great coaches, they somehow always find a way to eventually get one. Boeheim did, Cal did, Bill Self did, among others. There was a time that Mike Krzyzewski was viewed as the bridesmaid, and then he started gobbling up right and left, that they somehow, in their greatness, they're able to gnaw one out, and Andy Reid did.
You know, Krzyzewski is a good lesson for that, because he arrived at Duke in 1981 and struggled to get a foothold at the beginning of his career, so much so that there was a point at which he literally thought he was going to be fired. And that was around, I think, 80. I think it would have been, maybe he arrived in 80, so it would have been 80, 81, 81, 82, 81, 82, and 82, 83 were his three struggling years. And the third year ended really ignominiously with a terrible loss in the Atlantic Coast Conference tournament, and he literally thought there was a good chance he'd be fired after that, and was called into the AD's office not long after that, and thought he was getting the pink slip, and instead was handed a contract extension. It's a really great story about Tom Butter's faith in him and his belief that he would get it done, and then they made the tournament that year. I think that would have been Jay Billis' sophomore year. Tommy would have been a freshman. Johnny Dawkins would have been a sophomore. Mark Allery, that group, and that they made the championship game as seniors and lost to that game, and then they went to the Final Four. They made the Sweet 16 the following year with a new group, including Tommy as a senior, and then made it in 88, 89, and 90, and lost each time. And all of a sudden, the narrative flipped from let's fire the guy to, he can't win the big one. Yeah. And it's like, wait, really? I mean, we got there that fast? I mean, we got there from fire him to he's just not good enough to win the big one that fast. And he in the interim made 4 Final Fours. I mean, I don't really understand this ethic or practice or whatever you want to call it, where people just want to hate coaches like that. I don't really get it. And I see it, you guys know I'm a Steelers fan and all that, and I see it within the Steelers fan community. A franchise that has had 3 coaches since 1969.
Long time since Bill Austin.
Yes, exactly. 3 coaches since 1969, and in that time has won more Super Bowls than anybody except the Patriots, who've won as many, have made more playoffs than anybody, have won more games than anybody, and have more playoff wins than anybody, I think, except Dallas, with whom they share the same number. So essentially nobody has done better than they've done in the last 50-plus years. And still, Steelers fans don't look at that and realize there's a connection there, that having that level of stability and excellence feeds itself, even if that excellence from time to time dips. You look at Cowher in 97, 98, 99. 98, 99, 2000. He misses the playoffs, and I think 2 of those 3 were losing seasons. And there were a lot of people agitated about that, and then all of a sudden gets it back together. 01, they win. They make the conference championship game. 04, and then 05 they win the Super Bowl. I mean, but people don't seem to understand that stability is part of the ingredient of success, and the Chiefs understood that. They knew they had a great coach. They knew that they were going in the right direction, and it was a question of putting the right pieces in that direction so that they would eventually get to where they wanted to go. And the Eagles, at one point had him and made, I think, 4 conference championship games with him, maybe 5, but a lot, and decided they could do better. And they fired him or dismissed him, or they parted mutual, however they said it, so they could hire Chip Kelly. How'd that go?
Yeah, not well. And Mike, the unintended consequences of, okay, you listen to all the kind of the rabble-rousers out there, you fire the guy, and then you set off that chain of 5 coaches over the next 15 years, and you pull a Nebraska football. I'll bet you if Nebraska was honest, if they had that one big coaching mulligan back, they never changed from Frank Solich.
Yeah, I think you're right. But that's what happens when you forget what made you great. And that's something that Duke did not do. And Villanova, very smartly, when they were struggling early, a lot of people wanted to move on from Jay Wright because it wasn't happening now.
Not fast enough.
Meanwhile, when they were trying to move on from him, he had Alan Ray and Jason Frazier and the group that eventually and Kyle Lowry coming in as an underclassman below them. And that team eventually made the Elite Eight and built the foundation for a team that would subsequently go to the Final Four in 2009. And then, of course, they built the dynasty that's ruled through the Big East since the conference split. So it really is about making sure – it's really about coaching talent. You know what? I said on a podcast I did for the Big East this week that I think Coach Ed Cooley at Providence is one of the best coaches in the country.
I saw that.
And I got this kickback from a reader or a fan or, not a fan of me, but a basketball fan saying his resume doesn't hold that. He needs to win more in the tournament. And I'm like, you don't get this. You don't understand here. That's not how you measure it. You measure it by what the guy achieves relative to what his circumstance is. If he were at Carolina and he had this record, you would have a point. But he's not. Providence hasn't been this consistently good since like 1975. I mean, that's 40 years. He's had them competitive in this league every year since the split. And they might have had a dip here or there. But again, they've been in the picture and making tournaments. And they were consistently missing. They might have a year or two where they got good and then slip back down, but they weren't consistently good with the exception of a very short period when Rick Barnes was there. They were consistently good, but he wasn't there for very long because he could get a better job. Ed is willing to stay there, has been willing to stay there for, I think he's now 8 or 9 years. He's a gifted enough coach that I guarantee you he's had other opportunities. And instead of jumping on the first boat out of town, he said, "No, I like Providence. This is my region. This is where I grew up. I'm happy here. I make good money. Maybe not as good as I'd make somewhere else, but not poor. And so he's happy and he stays. And instead of saying, "Wow, we get to keep that guy," you have people saying that he should be, that they should consider getting rid of him because they started badly this year.
And you just never know what the unintended consequences would be with the successor. And I'm getting ready to quite literally melt our text line, Mike, with 3 local examples in college football. Oh, if they could have a mulligan back. Tennessee with Philip Fulmer, Ole Miss with David Cutcliffe, and Arkansas with Houston Nutt. How's it gone since running all those guys off?
Yeah, I never understood the Cutcliffe thing. It never made any sense to me. None. I mean, the guy was bright. He was personable. He was classy. He clearly had a vision. He connected with people who were really gifted at important positions like quarterback.
And if he didn't, Karen Cutcliffe did.
Yeah, and so with all of that, I just will never understand that. We just got done with one of the really mystifying firings in college basketball in recent years, sort of blowing back around yesterday when Vanderbilt and its athletic director parted ways. Its athletic director who'd been on the job for about a year and who 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 months, whatever it was, into the job, decided that Bryce Drew in 3 years needed to be removed. And I remember waking up, I don't even remember where I was last year for the regionals, I guess Louisville, and I remember I think that's where I was. I woke up and read that, and I was astonished. flabbergasted that they were moving on from him. And it's the same principle. And some of these universities, they give these athletic directors power to do this when they're not even 100% sure that guy or that person is the right person to move their program forward. And look, a year later, after doing this foolish thing to remove a very capable coach and classy guy like Bryce Drew, he's gone.
Yep.
It reminds me.
And they're still winless.
Yeah, it's funny because when I wrote that column, I had a lot of pushback from Vanderbilt people who said, "You don't come back from 0-18," and I don't believe that, because what's the difference between 0-18 and 2-16? I mean, it's none. But what if Jerry does only 0-18 this year and he's on track? But what if, the league is offering up better opportunities to get a win than last year's team did. And this one's not coming as close. I mean, remember, last year's team almost took out the Tennessee Volunteers when they had one of their 3-4 best teams ever. I don't see Vandy coming that close this time. But what if he doesn't get there? Then what's the response then? And that, if he goes to 0-18 and he doesn't have the athletic director that fired him, what are you saying? Then you have to move? I'm not saying you do. I'm just saying that there were a lot of people who used that as an excuse for why Bryce had to be removed.
And, Mike, then there's a place over the long haul of college basketball. They always seem to get the stable head coach in there, and they usually win it with him. And Chris Mack could be that guy at Louisville. At U of L, it cost Tom Jurich and cost Rick Pitino, and there was a lot of embarrassment around the program. But without making that right hire of Chris Mack, they could be in that vicious cycle, and they're not. He's going to stay there a long time, and he's going to win them plenty.
Yeah, when Chris was at Xavier, it was pretty well known that was the job. Of course, he wasn't thinking Rick was going to be dismissed, right. But I think he was very happy to stay at Xavier for as long as he needed to. Rick was in his 60s, so no one knew exactly how much longer he would go. You never know. I mean, you could keep going like Kay and Boeheim, or you could decide, no, I got other things I want to do and plenty of money to do them, so I'm going to go do them. And so he didn't know, but he was very content at Xavier. But that was the one. It's not that he ever told me that, but everybody knew that. His wife Christy is from Louisville. It's close enough to Cincinnati that his family, however much of his family still remains from Cincinnati, could easily get there and visit and all that. And obviously, Louisville's one of the great basketball jobs. So that was always the target. And so as Ohio State opened and Indiana opened, and also close by, also great jobs. Chris never really made a huge push to go in those directions. He waited, and eventually, mostly by accident, so to speak, he got an opportunity. And Louisville was smart enough to recognize that not only was he interested, but also that he was talented enough to move the program forward, that he was going to be successful there. He's a really gifted coach, and he's going to do well by Louisville, and they're having a terrific year at this point. I wish that they were still in position to play Cincinnati and Memphis, because I thought those rivalries, that three-way rivalry, was maybe the most underrated in all of college sports, and so that's gone now. But hopefully the Bearcats and the Tigers will be able to regenerate what they had as Penny has now escalated Memphis basketball to the level where it's back there where the Bearcats have been for the better part of the last decade.
And Mike, even though you haven't been here in a long time after being the beat writer for the Tigers at the Commercial Appeal, you have a good feel of this community through years of countless friends and years of being on Memphis radio. So you know the tenor and the tone around town. I was having a conversation today with a guy about the Tigers, and what I said, it is a very important must-win tonight against Temple and in South Florida on Saturday. And this person was really cracking on the Tigers. I said, they're 16-5. You're talking about them like they're 10-11.
16-5, and don't forget, they had their best player and the player around whom the entire operation was built, Jet. First be removed, and then Jet after only having played 3 games, and maybe the single most dependable player the guy that you know is playing hard every night, the guy that you know exactly what you're going to get from him almost every night, is now injured and out as well, DJ Jeffries. A guy that I would take that guy on my team every day of the week. I love the way that kid plays. And now you have to get by without him. So, look, it's not the year you had imagined, but one, it's not over, and it's still in good shape. And two, is there no allowance made for what circumstances develop? I just don't understand that.
Yeah, and he was again kind of cracking on me in the preseason. I picked a Final Four, and it has a theme to it, of Tigers, Louisville, Kentucky, and Kansas. And I think you know the linkage to the other three teams for my potential Final Four. And he said, there's no way you can be right. I said, now, look, you're going to give me the benefit of I can change my opinion when the facts change and you lose a player like James Wiseman. I saw him one time, Mike, against South Carolina State on the 5th of November, and I knew I was seeing something you just don't go out and see every night in college basketball. You lose that, and then you have the injuries, and one or two players have a little trouble with the assimilation to big-time college basketball, and you set it 16-5.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't think there's any. Would you like to have this game back, that game back? Sure, whatever. The Georgia loss at home stings a little because it was at home, and you don't lose a lot of those anyway, and you don't want to lose any. But 16-5 is fine. Now, they have to do what you just talked about. Even without DJ and with James long gone, they have to take care of teams like Temple and South Florida. Regardless of what the venue is, they have to take care of those things if they want to get where they want to go. And that's obviously the NCAA tournament and possibly a conference championship. They have to do that. And it's not ever easy. But it's certainly doable for them.
Again, last reference to a mulligan. But if you could have a mulligan, what would you take back? The home loss to Georgia, the home loss to SMU, or that margin of defeat at Tulsa?
Yeah, margins don't matter that much in the actual process. It obviously it impacts your computer rankings, although the NCAA is set so that it really, a 40-point loss is a 10-point loss. It might get discussed that they got smoked in that game, but if they do enough if they do enough winning between now and the end of the year, it won't really matter. So I don't think that that will end up really mattering as much as people think. It was embarrassing. It was disappointing, and then to couple that with a game that you had in the bag and you let get away. But I think the Georgia one would be the one you'd like to have back, just because it's a non-conference opponent at home, a chance to get a good a decent resume win. I think that would have been the one. But whether you lose to whether you lose to Tulsa by 2 or by 40. Really doesn't matter that much. Remember how much data they're looking at. You're looking at
mountains.
Yeah, when you get to the selection process, this is if Memphis is in the final grouping, and they can easily play their way into a relatively comfortable spot in the field. And when I say that, I mean like up toward the 8 or 9 line where you're not falling out. They could play, honestly, if they went on a tear, they could play beyond that, but it's, you're sort of really asking for a lot then. But they could easily do that. But even if they fell into the final grouping, you're still talking about maybe 15 to 20 teams for 5 to 7 spots, maybe even 8 or 9 spots. And so there's so much data to pour through. And I just don't think that anybody in the committee room is going to go back and say, well, look at this one. They lost by 40 in this game. That's no way. I just can't buy that. When I do my mock brackets for Fox, that doesn't faze me in the least. I look first and foremost at, what are your best wins? How many bad losses do you have? How much have you done on the road? What's the package of quad ones that you have look like? I look at teams now, and you look at their quad one records, and on the top, they have, against all the most difficult teams, loss. And then below the split, you get now you get a win, loss, and then you wind up maybe with a team that's 3-6 or something against the quad one. That's the kind of team that you're getting around the 10 or 11 line right now. So I don't worry really much at all about the fact that somebody lost by 40 points in one of those defeats. It just doesn't mean much to me.
And I would hope if that person, that committee member, he or she, if they're that myopic, if they're going to be that exact, if they had that at the ready and the margin was that big a deal, they also would say, but they did have DJ Jeffries injured when they lost to Georgia, and they did have him injured, from the 1st of February on. I hope they would say that. Mike, lastly, what team have you not seen in person that you're itching to see, that you can't wait to go see them in person to see if they're as good or maybe as questionable as you get when you watch games at home?
Yeah, I'd love to see San Diego State because unbeaten is a cool thing, for one. For two, it's hard to read how gifted or relatively not gifted they are athletically when you're just watching on television. It's also hard to read because of the level of competition they play. Like, the Mountain West isn't a bad league, but it's a decent league having a bad year.
It's just too late at night, Mike. That's why.
Yeah. I try to watch them, but I know. I watched them against Vegas, and you can just see the other team starting to fall apart as you get close to the end of the game.
I can see me falling apart close to the end of the game.
Yes, too late for you, man.
Yeah, it is late at night. Mike, so much fun to visit with you. Thank you for your time today. We'll do it next week as we're getting closer and closer. And I like that college basketball now getting some of the spotlight on it with the end of the monster that is football in the NFL. Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Dad.
You got it. Mike DeCourcy with us every week. He's brought to you by the Memphis Tourism and Sports Council. In Memphis and Shelby County, you can experience the great outdoors with amazing amenities as a community member or visitor. Whether it's riding bikes through Shelby Farms Park across the city via the Green Line or gliding over the Mississippi on the Big River Crossing, these are just some of the reasons that make Memphis one of America's best bike cities. Outdoor enthusiasts also won't want to miss Bass Pro Shops at the Pyramid and then take their gear to fish, kayak, or paddleboard on our many waterways. If you prefer to be a spectator, take in a Redbirds baseball game. I can't wait to opening night at 3rd and Union, or a 901 FC soccer match. That's coming in early March at AutoZone Park. The team at Memphis Tourism and the Memphis Sports Council make it easy to plan your path for exploring the great outdoors. Visit memphistravel.com and get outside today. If you get out there right now, you're going to need an umbrella, aren't you?
Yeah, just a bit. It's coming down out here at the corner of Mount Moriah and Ridgeway.
It's not coming down Forrest Gump upside down, is it?
No, it's not coming out upside down or sideways or big old drops of rain.
All right, the 40-point loss against Tulsa. Temple suffered a 36er against them. Something's got to give tonight.
Something's got to give.
Something's got to give tonight to make up for those two big losses. It will be interesting at FedEx Forum tonight, the starting lineup. I'm not that hung up on who starts. Yeah, I think at the end of the night, the old minutes played is much more important than the 5 that go out there at the beginning of the game. It'll also be important to see how much just on the ball as the true point guard, how much run time Boogie Ellis gets. I think he's getting more comfortable.
I think he truly is, and I'm with you. It really doesn't matter who starts because, as we saw last game with Jaden Hardaway getting the start, he played the first 3 minutes and then I believe only played a total of 5 throughout the entire game. So it's not like you're starting. That means you're automatically getting 20, 25, 30 minutes a night. The coach is going to play who's the best players regardless of whether they're in the starting 5 lineup or not.
House money tonight in Dallas for the Grizzlies? Free shot?
Yes, free money.
I think so, too. Get a win there and, heck, get the win Sunday afternoon against Washington, go 2-1 on this road trip. You would be ecstatic. I think just one out there out of this 3 would be pretty good, and the one circled would be Washington on Sunday afternoon, 25-25. Last night, the out-of-town scoreboard was great. Portland with a loss, San Antonio with a loss. Grizzlies' magic number to make the playoffs is the 8th seed.
We down to
30.
30. Wow.
So any combination of Grizzlies wins and all those other teams behind them losses, it would equal 30. I think 39 or 40 will get that 8th spot, 41 500 for sure. I don't know if the Grizzlies can do that. Dave asked me how hard one yesterday if I thought they would. I said they wouldn't. I said no, that they would not. I think Portland will end up being that 8th team. A lot of NBA moves being made. Trade deadline will have come and gone this time tomorrow. How active will the Grizzlies be in that? Also, Luka Doncic, he is out tonight, still suffering from an ankle injury. When we come back, we visit with Rick Horrow on the business of sports. You're listening to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats on Real Sports Talk, AM 560, 87.7, and 96.1.
We are Sports 56 WHB.
It's awful, and there is a gift for Real Madrid. There. Oh, he's gone for it, and it's gone straight through the goalkeeper's hand. But his handling was awful, and he has cost Liverpool again.
He didn't take any line rush. He wasn't skating hard up. Oh, right through.
Look out, Brandon Bollig just put Adam Party right through the glass. And someone just grabbed Adam Party's helmet and took it off in the stands. A fan
just dumped a beer. Some fans wearing the helmet.
They may be the drunkest couple in the history of sporting events.
I loved his face.
I would suspect that fan is done for the night. Here's the thing. When you steal something, don't wear it.
JT, are you okay?
I had forgotten I had something there.
What? Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Forget about the $90 fries. Are you kidding me?
All right, I got this one.
I got it. No. And the dog.
Well, he did get the ball.
What?
That's the same guy. This goes really serious business.
And the same guy.
It's the same guy.
Same guy's ticked off.
He lost his first meal, and then he just lost his second meal.
One away from Verdugo, swings it. It's a fly ball on her right. And going back is Borenstein. The ball is off his glove and over the fence for a home run.
Actually, the ball bounces off the outfielder's head and over the fence.
But there is still a long way to go, and he almost went there. He almost went with that left hand. And Maxwell looking a little bit groggy, and a face which tells the story. Oh, great shot! Left hand, right hand from Maxwell. Well, where did that come from? I can hardly believe what I've seen. An astonishing turnaround. He gets to his feet, and he stopped it. He stopped it. Sam Maxwell turns that fight around, and where did that come from? He looked as though he was spent. He looked as though he was all over. He looked as though one more big shot from Sadiri and he'd be gone. And then he produced that. Quite extraordinary.
And then a terrible snap. Smith is going to have to go all the way back. He didn't secure it. It's still off the snap. Get out the calculator for 4th and goal on this one. Loose inside the 20. Who wants the football? It is final 7 yards.
Kendry Morales at the plate. He shoots it into deep center field. Gutierrez looks up. It's out of here. A game-winning grand slam home run for Kendry Morales. Looks like Morales is injured at the bottom of that pile.
Unbelievable. They're calling for the training staff right now. It's a great win for the Angels, but I'm not sure that they're going to enjoy this part right here.
And they didn't, as Morales missed the rest of the season with a fractured ankle.
Hit well to left field. And Alex Rios has his second home run of the trip. Josh Tomlin gives up.
We talk the business of sport every Wednesday afternoon with our friend Rick Horrow, visiting professor at Harvard, part of the NBC family through the years, and we have loved visiting with Rick through the years, talking about all things advertising and philanthropy and business around sport. And last week, as a South Floridian, part of really welcoming the world to South Florida, and Miami pulled it off. They hardly ever miss on that weather, Rick Horrow. We knew that was, although what bad luck for Peyton Manning and the Bears in that Super Bowl to get the only reigning Super Bowl that year in Miami. But it looked spectacular last week, weather and everything included, Rick.
I was just about to kind of point that out to you guys.
I still have a picture in my kind of gallery of facility development stuff of the one weather radar cloud that hung right over the stadium for about 2 hours.
Really did.
You could say, in retrospect, what that did was basically get us a roof. Steve Ross, the great entrepreneur and Miami Dolphin owner, spent basically $500 million of his own money. But the condition of kind of getting a covered stadium for the fans came into play because of that one little rainstorm. We've had 11 Super Bowls. The weather's been great on most of them, and the one that was bad kind of got a roof that would cause a lot of other events to come. So it's not a bad thing.
You go through that litany of Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, particularly winning their first Super Bowl in Miami. It started with Joe Namath in Super Bowl III, and you roll right on through to Patrick Mahomes. I think every one of them, Drew Brees included, the year he did it in that rain-shrouded game, they all end up in the Hall of Fame. And Patrick Mahomes, he may have launched his Hall of Fame run on Sunday with that fourth quarter comeback.
Yeah, but what happened to Bart Starr? You don't remember? I see most of your demographic. They don't remember who Bart Starr is.
But he won his first Super Bowl in Los Angeles. He got his second one there.
Oh,
when they win that first one in Miami.
Yeah. He won his second one in Miami when they beat the Raiders 33-14. I'm trying to out-trivia you, but I can't out-trivia you. So I stand corrected. And by the way, I started a presentation that we did with HSBC on the 50 greatest moments in sports and South Florida sports history, kind of the beginning of the book tour. And I compared Super Bowl II, 1968, that Bart Starr's second game when they beat the Raiders. Average ticket price, by the way, $6.
Yeah.
Average ticket price for this one, face value, over $3,000. So he's come a long way.
He come a long way from $6 to $3,000. But Patrick Mahomes, he will land probably the biggest deal in NFL history when he hits the open market. But Kansas City won't ever let it get there.
Won't ever let it get there. But I had the good fortune of flying back from Kansas City when they came back and beat Houston to the national championship the next day, New Orleans, with Lee Steinberg. And he was just there showing the flag for his client, Patrick Mahomes, which will cause him to break the bank in the Chiefs bank, which he'll be glad to do. And he was talking about his next client, which was Tua, who he signed basically the day before. And in Miami, he was telling everybody who wanted to listen that Tua is very healthy and ought to be the Dolphin draft pick. But I guess when, you and I would kind of know Lee Steinberg, and basically I went up to Lee and said, if he had a broken leg and sitting in the wheelchair and had 5 other breaks, he'd have still said he was perfectly healthy. So we don't believe, but that was kind of kidding. Yeah. So that's the next big decision.
It looks like the next big decision. A big decision for Olympic organizers in Tokyo, 2020 organizers entering the final stretch of a decade of Olympics planning, and they could not. There's no way they could have foreseen the coronavirus as a potential problem in that neighborhood. How worried are you about that, and if it were to this pandemic were to metastasize and impact the 2020 Summer Olympics in Tokyo?
Well, it's a big issue. Obviously, the Chinese Football Association has postponed all of its soccer games until it gets resolved. The financial world is in turmoil, except for the American markets. If you remember, the Zika virus put a damper on Rio 4 years ago. But things have a way of working out. Maybe the best thing you could say is that it's February and the Olympics don't happen until the summer. Could be the best thing, could be the worst thing. We'll just have to see.
What's kind of the open ticket pricing for Olympics? Like if you went to the ticket places to buy in the secondary market and you wanted to buy opening and closing ceremonies or maybe men's basketball, what's the price structure out there like?
Yeah, well, that'll be an interesting one this year because there are a lot more tickets that the Japanese government has forced out of the system by smartly having Japan Airlines and others do discount deals, so you get a lot more people there. So the stands won't look empty, a lot more revenue. So I'm thinking $2 or $3 for that. That's not really, really high. Big stadiums, opening ceremony, but we'll see what happens in a couple of months.
And you got to get there. That won't be cheap. One sad fact about really, it feels like every Olympics host city, summer or winter Olympics, that when it's over, like in Rio, the golf course, the Gil Hance golf course, already, back to seed, back to nature. A lot of the structures, pink elephants, unusable, almost a Chernobyl effect. Will Tokyo suffer from that?
Well, it's a bad fact, but it doesn't have to be. London built its games in 2012 off of existing facilities. They're doing fine. One of the reasons why LA got 2028 is because they didn't have to build a whole lot that was just for them. They'll have the new base football stadium. That'll be built for other reasons. So, when you build facilities for a one-week event, you got to worry about what's really going to come. And Rio learned that painful lesson. But in Sochi has kind of learned it. Australia turned a lot of that into greening and green space. Mixed bag. It just depends on what kind of planning you really seriously do, not just for the games themselves, but what happens after.
In Los Angeles, the area around the Coliseum at Southern California, at University of Southern California, we're already seeing a reshaping of the Coliseum, mostly for SC football. But that physical plant, that site, it will have a lot of money spent on it, but it will be on existing buildings. It won't be new buildings, will it?
That's correct, but it'll be new buildings that are not for sports. So you're going to have a lot of housing issues, and you're going to have a lot of transportation issues. And that legacy is important because you got dorm commitments, UCLA's and otherwise, that'll be used for Olympics. That was very important for that bid. And then they'll be able to be used for other stuff after the Olympics. So they, so far, are doing it the right way.
For Winter Olympic sites, it just feels like it would never happen again for Squaw Valley or Lake Placid, or for that matter, even Salt Lake City back to 2002.
Well, Salt Lake City's bigger. Park City was their ski area. The thing about Winter Olympics is it's always a logistical nightmare, and there are less and less cities that are interested in bidding because the numbers are less and less to be able to guarantee a profit. It is expensive to put on those games. You build a ski lift and you don't use it every week, especially in the summer. And so I don't know if a lot of people know, but 2022 is in China. And a lot of the areas where they're guaranteed to have Olympic venues don't have snow. They're just have to make it and bring it in. So you got to worry about Winter Olympic venues over time. They'll work it out, but it's not easy.
Rick, I think I'm right on this. When Beijing, and they will pull it off somehow, some way. They'll get the snow there. If they have to go to Siberia and get it, they'll get the snow there. I think they will make Beijing the first city to ever host both winter and summer.
I don't want to discount you, even though I like it when I try to point out you're wrong, unlike other talk show hosts that I do stuff with. You're wrong less than they are on a regular basis, which, by the way, is not a badge of honor. It just speaks about your profession.
Well,
don't get carried away.
I knew that that Neil Walk would carry me a long way with you.
There you go. That's very good. Hey, man, I'm still at glow on that one. Man. You and I are best buddies because of Neil Walk. By the way, one thing which is kind of interesting but not relevant to your question, last week the media center was, as I said, it was like 200 yards from the press from Miami Beach High School, and I got a note from the Walk family because I've talked about that a lot of different places, and they said, we haven't had so much publicity since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar days, last Lou Alcindor days.
Oh, and, Jerry Colangelo.
Not too many people know why, but you do.
He loses the coin toss. We're visiting with Rick Harrell on the business of sport, and here in town, we have a 125-year history of minor league baseball, proud history of minor league baseball here in Memphis, and I think it's been one of the under-the-radar stories since first getting dropped out there in late November, early December, about a real contraction of minor league baseball. And now a member of the U.S. House of Representatives, he has had a resolution that targets minor league contractions in baseball. Explain to our listeners what Major League Baseball would like to do to minor league baseball.
Well, the opening salvo in the negotiations for the next agreement between Major League and minor league, and remember, 10, 12, 20-year deals, depending on the deal. This one expires at the end of next season. And so one of the proposals was to eliminate the affiliation of 42 hand-picked teams across the country to try to streamline. Major League Baseball says it's a money saving effort. I will tell you that it's a rounding error for Major League Baseball, certainly player salaries, but it means a whole lot to small cities around the country, especially if they're targeted for extinction. And so I do know for a fact there are a lot of discussions about saving minor league baseball teams in those cities, not only political discussions, but community discussions, stadium standards, economic impact studies. There are a whole lot of things that are happening that are amounting to a movement to try to get Major League Baseball to feel a little bit of pressure to reconsider what that proposal is all about.
Do you think Major League Baseball wants to basically get it down to two levels of baseball, maybe not even call it double and triple A, and not have rights to anybody? You could play one night at one level, which may be double A, 3 nights later at triple A. And, Rick, what I'm scared of is I think Major League Baseball wants to completely kind of devalue minor league baseball, that there won't be standings. There won't be a scoreboard. There won't be – I mean, you'll just go out and play for about 2.5 hours, and it'll all kind of be practice games, spring training, backfield games. Are you scared of any of that?
Well, I'm scared that Major League Baseball may not have the sense of history and importance of what real legitimate minor league baseball means at all levels, in all communities.
So agree.
So it could take a lot of different forms, I guess, is what you're trying to say as well. But if you don't respect the game, then there's a lot more chance of getting the game to kind of slip away from you. And believe me, there's 100-year more of history in cities like Memphis and everywhere else around the country to make sure that minor league baseball is protected. You just kind of hope that continues.
I hope it continues. I know we will continue with you next Wednesday. We love visiting with you, Rick, and great job by all the people in South Florida to Tampa next year, and we look forward to talking about it next week with you. Thank you.
I love being with the guy that's more right than wrong, so keep it up. Bye.
Thank you, Rick Harrow. I like being right, too. Rick Harrow on the Business of Sport. 360-8255 at the First Bank phone line, 67129 at the First Bank text line. But we're going to have a Germantown, Collierville commissary, big Q of the day, but we're going to do it all at the phone lines at 360-8255. I'll throw the trivia question out now. 100 years of Tiger basketball. We are celebrating that this year. You've heard Dave talk about the exhibit at the Pink Palace a lot. 100 years of Tiger basketball. Somebody tell me at 360-8255 at the First Bank phone line the last time the Tigers scored 100 or more games in a basketball game. The last time they did it. Not the first time, but the last time the Tigers scored 100 or more in a basketball game. If they get 100 tonight, guarantee you they beat Temple tonight at FedEx Forum. Germantown Commissary and Collierville Commissary, big Q of the day. Go to either place, the new Collierville Commissary at Houston, Levy, and Poplar, or the original in Germantown, Memphis-style barbecue and delicious ribs, authentic Memphis-style great food. Begin your barbecue feast with some great appetizers like the cheese plate or the tamales. We did that last week when Drew and I went to the Germantown Commissary. Or get the barbecue nachos. The smoked chicken wings are fantastic. Drew had that. Then dig into the ribs or the barbecue shoulder. Get it chopped or pulled on a sandwich, a big sandwich, or you can get it on a plate. Comes with beans, slaw, deviled eggs, and bread as well. You can even order it by the pound or a 6-pack like we're giving away now, or an 8-pack or a 12-pack. I know so many people had their big game parties catered from the commissary, either in Germantown or in Collierville. The Boss Man salad, the chicken plate, or the barbecue shrimp, the wonderful hot tamales. So much great food, and you can wrap it up with the great desserts like the best lemon icebox pie anywhere or the terrific banana pudding. 901-754-5540. Online at commissarybarbecue.com in Collierville and Germantown. Great party areas, orders to go, catering, tailgate, and always great food because Walker Taylor has done it the right way at the Germantown and Collierville Commissary. 100 years of Tiger basketball at 360-8255 at the First Bank phone line. Somebody tell me to win a 6-pack of barbecue from either the Collierville or Germantown Commissary the last time the Tigers scored 100 or more. You're listening to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats on Real Sports Talk, AM 560, 87.7, and 96.1.
Sports 56 Happy Hour with Johnny Radio. Weekday afternoons from 1 to 3. Here on
Soccer, where the show must go sideline reporter.
Красота! Группа хода этого матча и становится еще бокрее и бокрее. Но все равно продолжаем.
First, I thought somebody was standing off camera with a hose, because those are some powerful sprinklers.
Hats off to that. That is not easy.
There's a problem here, Phil. What's happened? Well, there's an accident here. As far as I can see, that was the yellow jersey group, and they've gone down. That was because a motorbike got involved somewhere there.
Look at this. Well, you can run all you like, but the rules state you've got to have your bike with you. He hasn't got his bike.
Well, this I have never, ever seen before.
Neither have I, but you've got to carry your bike.
Talget, Zylov. Well, good job, buddies.
No!
You can't live this one down. There's just no way.
Here it is again, Talget, Zylov. Oh! Okay, I'm going on to the ice coach.
Oh, yow. Yow. That was well hit. And that just took the full impact just where you don't want it. I'm sure everyone at home's probably having a bit of a laugh, but if you're Hilton Cartwright on debut, you're not laughing. Take a short break. 3 for 165.
Ground ball. Dylan Moore comes home. Nobody home. Wow.
Bad news, Bears. I don't even think that movie was this bad, was it?
I'm not sure I've seen that before.
Watch the net. Dash.
Great job, Dad.
He's like, you stink.
Down towards the last. Merrion Square wandering around. And look at Unship the rider. Oh, and Lewis Ferguson takes a horrible fall. Lewis Ferguson is sitting up, hopefully only shaken after a spectacular exit.
Csak ember, szabadrugás. Lazovic. Azt a mindenit, mit vág le. Ilyen kiakadás. Mert most hirtelen Lazovic már jobban lett. Az nagyon-nagyon sok értékes másodpercet jelent.
She laying off the Panko, yeah. Yeah, she's
that.
serving, yeah, no, I know. Where's he going to get it?
Oh, yeah.
Gets her right in the head. She
Right
cranks her partner right in the old back of the head.
Oh,
She's done it again.
Oh, no. Number 2. Ouch.
You just wonder whether he'll start to adjust where he's standing soon. That is the second time this tournament that this has happened.
Wolo ran into Rashad Perry with the most.
Never seen this, ever. Ogunbowale and Perryman collided like they were racing to catch the train.
Looking for Tosic. Oh, it's in! What a horrendous mistake by the goalkeeper, Kozacic. Completely took his eye off the ball. It was a simple back pass from Resnick. And what a gift. You will not see a worse.
Periscope and YouTube, and you can call us at 360-8255 to win a 6-pack of barbecue at either the Collierville or Germantown Commissary if you know the big Q question of the day. And it is in 100 years of Tiger basketball, celebrating that this year. So tell me the last time the Tigers scored 100 in a game. Got 97 back on the 28th of December against New Orleans in a 97-55 win. That was the next to last game of 2019 part of the schedule. But I need the last time at 360-8255. We go to Daryl. Good afternoon, Daryl.
Hey, guys, what's happening?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good, man.
Last time the Tigers scored 100 or more.
Wow. Well, let's see. Let me fish a little with you, Stats. Let's see. Steve McNair went to this school.
I know the answer.
Yeah, I know you know that. It's November 16th. I don't know what you're looking for. It's November 16th. Alcorn State, they scored 102.
Daryl, you're too crafty. I tried to set it up like it was eons ago. It was this year. You're right. It was this season on November 16th. They got 102, and Alcorn State only got 56. So you are a winner. Well, you were pretty crafty there in trying to trick me. I know Alcorn State. I got it in front of me.
I knew you did.
Way to go, Terrell. I'm going to put you on hold. You get with Drew, and you get the particulars, and you get your six-pack of barbecue. Thank you for listening, Darryl.
Hey, thank you, man. Super appreciate it.
You got it. We really appreciate it. 67129 if you want to weigh in on the First Bank text line. And we've had several do that, and I wanted to respond to this. I was going through the coaches with Mike DeCourcy that I thought places were probably a little hasty in the firing. A person says Fulmer's a great example. Dave, we were together then, and I was saying ride it out with him. Give him one more year. He'll circle the wagons in recruiting. He'll get that staff right, and at least give him one more because you don't know what it will set off. Tennessee had that stability for so very long. They had gone basically Doug Dickey, Bill Battle, Johnny Majors, and Fulmer over about a 40-year span, and they just didn't think it would happen to them at Ole Miss. Just coaching change after coaching change, and even at Arkansas, Houston Nutt did take two teams to Atlanta, and it over 10 years, and I know people were frustrated, very frustrated, that it wasn't more, but look what it set off. If Bobby Petrino had not gotten in trouble, but he did, but if he hadn't gotten in trouble, the famous April 1st motorcycle wreck, then I think it might not have been as destabilized as it got, but it did happen. It became very unstable. One of the real winners of National Signing Day today, particularly the second phase, because that's really all he had, it's Sam Pittman rallying with a pretty good class. I think he will finish somewhere around 33, 34, 35, something like that. That's a miraculous feat from where it was on the day that he was hired, because that was a little bit of a awkward hiring. He had not been a head coach, had not been a coordinator anywhere, and to cobble together a top 40 class really just in no time also sends a sign of what he can do with a little stability, with a little patience. It's going to be right now 38th at Rivals, and that's not that great in the SEC overall at 1 through 14, but it's better than Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, and Missouri. It will beat those three.
29 on 24/7.
Is that right? That really is something to crack top 30 in this short time. That it's rare when they have that big a discrepancy from 29 to 38.
Yeah, it really is. I mean,
I know which one I would go to if I was a fan of that.
Obviously,
29.
29. I mean, the Tigers on 24/7 is 77, and on Rivals they're 81.
Okay, again,
but that's a lot closer than 10
yeah,
off.
Thank you for the information, but I don't look at the Tigers' broad number. I look at the neighborhood. Accurate, inaccurate? What do you think of that?
No, I mean, that's exactly how you got to look at it. You're not recruiting against
Nebraska,
the Alabamas, the Texases of the world. You're recruiting against who you're going to play and kind of who's around you. Now, I think you can put Memphis and compare them to how well they're recruiting against Arkansas or Tennessee or Ole Miss or Mississippi State.
Jeremy Pruitt having a great year.
A more realistic level, it's about how well are you recruiting against Houston, Central Florida, Temple, Tulsa, everybody in the American. Are you out recruiting the Conference USA? You'd have to be out recruiting the Sun Belt. That's where you kind of compare yourself at.
This is probably more a summertime topic, a July show topic, but for the 20s, for this decade that we will play the first game coming up with this season, there are some coaches out there who will dominate the 20s. We know who dominated the second decade of the 21st century. It was Nick Saban. Mostly the dominating coach of the first decade of the 21st century, I think mostly was Pete Carroll.
I agree with that.
Just for example's sake, let's give it to Pete Carroll, let's give it to Nick Saban. Well, neither one of them are going to be the dominant guy of the 20s.
No.
Neither one. Lincoln Riley nationally sure would be thought of.
I think Dabo has a shot at it, at least the first 5-6 years of this decade.
Sure does.
I don't know about the back end of it. But
50, Dabo is 50, about 50? Yeah, I think he's 50 years old.
There.
Oh, yeah, he sure could. I mentioned Lincoln Riley. Dan Mullen?
Yeah, I think Dan Mullen has a shot at it. I think guys like Kirby Smart have shots at it.
He sure does.
I think one guy that we both can agree on that doesn't have a shot at it would be Jim Harbaugh up in Michigan.
Jeremy Pruitt, whether it's at Tennessee or winning there and going somewhere else maybe. What if he's the successor to Nick Saban?
Honestly, for it to be there, and this isn't a slight or a smack to the face to Tennessee fans, I think it would have to be him being the successor somewhere.
But he's got to win at Tennessee.
Just because I just clearly said that Dan Mullen and Kirby Smart out of that same division have a chance to be that coach of this decade is just too crowded.
I won't be here when it's all added up at the end of the 20s. But two guys I think right now out there doing a good job today at one's not off the beating path. It's Georgia Tech. Jeff Collins is really recruiting well for Georgia Tech. I think he could win there and maybe go somewhere else or stay at Tech if he wanted to. Another one's Billy Napier. Oft mentioned around coaching carousel time and what he's doing at Louisiana Lafayette. If he's the coach of the 20s, it's not going to be at Lou Lafayette.
No, and while we're talking about the ACC, how big of a chance does Mike Norvell at Florida State have to be the coach of this decade?
He does. Mike Norvell for sure could be that guy. Now, if it equals or tops Nick Saban, I'll be surprised because Pete Carroll didn't do that. Mike Norvell at Rivals, he's at 21. He got started late. Kentucky right there at 23. What Mark Stoops has done there, and it feels like he could stay forever. I mean, that's a place that would be, and he was in trouble. That would have been really dumb of them to make a change. Mississippi State almost made a change with Dan Mullen, didn't. Scott Strickland smartly wrote it out, and now they're back together again. We come back, shorter show today because we're out at 5:25 for Ole Miss basketball at 5:30. But when we come back, we'll visit with Jason Munns from the Commercial Appeal on the Tigers beat and on the Tigers and Temple tonight. You're listening to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats on Real Sports Talk, AM 560, 87.7, and 96.1.
Tiger Hoops fans have something. Oh my goodness, what in the world happened to him? He misread it badly, climbing the wall, and then the ball landed on the warning track as he fell off of the wall and bounced over for a double.
I don't know if he's embarrassed or hurt. I'm really glad it happened to him. He deserves it. He's my boy. The only thing that would made it better if it hit off his head when he fell down, but still not my favorite double of my career.
Pistons have their biggest lead. It's now 14. Deal to the basket. Passes out on the sideline for Ariza. He tried to get to the pass. He was bumped out of bounds by Luke Kennard.
Is there travel here? Is there travel here? Is there travel here? Heck yeah, there's a travel there.
Yeah, now there's a travel.
Having trails Leonardo Koutras. Koutras, who plays in the Greek League, claimed to be injured during a game over the weekend. Watches the medics first throw him onto a stretcher, then fail to secure him on said stretcher. He falls off not once but twice. Then they get him to the sideline, and they simply dump him. Obamacare this ain't.
Into the center ice area. An empty net is found on first. Fed in front and missed.
He put it over the net. He put it right up in the roof. He's embarrassed right now, believe me.
Another block. And what a save by Young! He threw it in the basket. James Young is so locked in, he threw it into the wrong basket.
Oh, that's out of the ground. That's gone. It's downtown. It's on my car. Oh, I get hit my car. Don't believe it. Oh, no.
Did you pay insurance?
No, it's a rental. I think it's mine.
Right field. Langworthy. Deep. Gone. And Stephen Williams thought he had it. Off of his glove and out.
It is a heartbreaking finish for the Tigers.
Oh, that
destination. Oh, what a save. Stops the pooch kick.
Nice work, Rusty. Good job.
Another doggy denial as this pooch shows up out of nowhere, wanders onto the pitch, and then makes a ridiculous save on the penalty kick.
And there, on the run, Kalen Clay, gone, touchdown.
The ball dropped at the 1, but there it is. Well, he has a touchdown. I'm celebrating. It's great. We might be live here. And the one Utah player sees it, forces a fumble, ties the game instead of 14-0. Come on, man.
Bauman, a pass. Boozer, strong move in the lane, and had enough to get it to go. Fist pumps and almost punched Dan Crawford. Oh, wow. He did get him.
Are Dave Woloshin and Brad Noiseworthy.
Thank you very much, Drew Barrett. Jason Munns from the Commercial Appeal, our guest next. He's on the Tiger Beat for the CA. We talked with him about tonight's game, last Saturday's win, and everything that goes with this Tiger basketball team, including the injury to DJ Jeffries. We're out at 5:25 for Ole Miss basketball. Ole Miss in South Carolina at the bottom of this hour from the Pavilion in Oxford. Frank Martin against Kermit Davis Jr. in that one between South Carolina and Ole Miss tonight. This hour brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales down on Goodman Road, 5704 Goodman Road. Very proud to serve DeSoto County and the surrounding area. Go online and check out the referrals at DeSotoAutoSales.com, 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience where you'll walk in, no shortcuts. You meet your sales rep, test drive your car, paperwork, credit approved, all in less than 45 minutes. We're living in a world today that time matters. They know that at DeSoto Auto Sales with the kind, courteous employees in the laid-back, down-home atmosphere. No high-pressure sales at DeSoto Auto Sales at 5704 Goodman Road. Again, go online to DeSotoAutoSales.com and see what their customers have to say about them, or call them at 662-890-7184. DeSoto Auto Sales, town and country experience. Come on down to DeSoto County. We're going to go to FedEx Forum. I guarantee you he's there. I bet Jason Munns got there at 3 o'clock. Jason, what time did you get to FedEx Forum today?
Man, it's the one time
darn.
You asked me if I'm there or not. I am literally around the block.
I knew you.
I haven't made it there yet, but I'm knocking on the door.
I always like to get there early, and the late great George Lapidus says, if you're there, you never know what you might find out.
I know I'm slacking. I'm slacking today, and you caught me.
Darn it! And you were honest. The veracity of Jason Munns right here with us.
Yeah,
Jason, you broke the story Saturday morning early, and it sent shockwaves through Tiger fans and college basketball with the injury to DJ Jeffries. When did it happen, and is it more on the 6 weeks or 4 weeks injury timetable?
It happened, let's see, the game was Saturday, so it happened Thursday in practice, and it was essentially it was like a live period, and it was a freak thing. The way it was described to me, it was a freak occurrence where DJ and Damian Ball just kind of got tied up. Their legs got tangled up a little bit, and DJ tripped and fell and banged his knee off the floor. And that's when it happened. Partially torn PCL ligament in his knee. And, yeah, the initial timetable, or I guess it's still the timetable that they're sticking to, is 4 to 6 weeks. But it seems like it's going – it seems like that's even the 6 weeks is a little optimistic. I mean, they're going to keep their fingers crossed and hope like heck that he'll be ready to go, in that by that time, by that 6 week time frame, which would be, if you count it out to the day, that would be the start of the conference tournament. From the day it happened to the 6 weeks would be the start of the conference tournament. They're going to keep their fingers crossed and hope he'll be ready to go by then. But if not, they'll play it by ear from there.
Jason, I remember back in the halcyon days of August when the Tigers were going to the Bahamas, and a legitimate topic about Tiger basketball was one basketball and the playing time. All the people that would want playing time, all the people that would want shots. Somehow, some way, that always works out, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I mean, whether that's when they were going really well. Obviously, you lost Lester Quinones in that time, and so that that I don't want to say it helped, but it certainly gave them a step in the right direction in terms of being able to spread the wealth. And then on top of that, Boogie Ellis wasn't performing very well, and everybody could see that, including Boogie. And so, you can't keep giving the ball to somebody who's struggling. So, in that way, it worked out. It was working out then, and here we are now. DJ Jeffries is hurt, and yeah, they've figured out a way to make, I think, to keep everybody happy. Not to say that Boogie Ellis was necessarily happy with being pulled from the starting lineup and all that stuff, but here he is now, and he's found his stroke, and yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any discontent anywhere on this team right now.
The last two games out, the game against Central Florida on the road and UConn at home, I'm not going to try to make those two wins against Duke or North Carolina, either one. It was who it was against, one on the road, one at home, against not very great conference opponents. But lesser teams could have found a way to lose either one of those games. The Tigers didn't. They gutted it out, and they're 16-5.
Yeah, especially that UConn game. You turn the ball over 24 times, you're supposed to lose.
Sure. Badly.
But, yeah, and it's not supposed to be close. But they were able to turn UConn over. UConn had 20 turnovers themselves. They shot free throws really, really well. They got to the free throw line late and were able to hit all their free throws. I can't remember off the top of my head if they shot what the percentage was from three, but I know against Central Florida they were 9 of 20. So if you do those types of things well, free throw shooting, 3-point shooting, turning the ball, getting the other team to turn it over, it can account for some shortcomings of your own. When you turn it over 24 times, they prove you still can win if you do other things to help yourself. I think they gave up. I think they were like -6 or -7 on the offensive glass at Central Florida, but they were able to win because they did well in so many other areas.
We know the rest of the year, Precious Achua, he has to go out there and I say be a 16, 17-point scoring guy and 7, 8, 9 rebounds minimum guy the rest of the way, and a block shot or two thrown in there as well, and maybe even a made three and a steal or two in there. Who's the next guy that has to have that good stat line that you really have to be able to count on? Because a lot of people would have said DJ Jeffries. Who's it got to be now?
I don't know if anybody has done enough to this point in the season where you can single out who the other Precious Achua has to be. I mean, right now Lance Thomas is playing out of his mind, but this seems to be, the exception rather than the rule. If he keeps it up, then it's him. Mm-hmm. If not, then it's going to have to be by committee. You're going to have to get really good nights out of him. You're going to have to get really good nights out of Boogie Ellis. I think the closest thing to what you're describing is probably Lester Quinones. I mean, he does a lot of things really well, but he doesn't always score the way DJ could. I mean, there were nights where DJ had off nights. Obviously, he went scoreless, I believe, at Central Florida. But I think, kind of what you're talking about needs to be Lester Quinones. I think he needs to shoot the ball more, given, now that DJ Jeffries is out. Because he can shoot. But he also does a lot of other things really, really well. He can create for himself. He can rebound. He had 8 rebounds against UConn the other day. He's a pest on defense. He can pass the ball just fine. So I think if there's going to be one guy, it's going to be him. But that's predicated on him shooting more. So if he's not going to up his shot taking numbers, then you're going to have to get some big nights from a group of people, including Lance Thomas, Boogie Ellis, and maybe heck throw Damian Ball in there too. I mean, I'd like to see if, and of course, I should mention Tyler Harris and Alex Lomax. I mean, those two, you expect to get consistent, steady play out of both those guys night in and night out. But I would like to see what Damian Ball could do if they put him as a 3 almost exclusively. I don't think he fits very well right now at the 1 or the 2. I'd like to see what he could do at the 3 on a more regular basis.
My contention forever: you are a point guard, or you're a 1, or you're not. If you try to force it, it can look really bad.
Yeah, and it's not that Damian can't develop into a 1. I mean, he does. We've seen flashes, but right now he just is too turnover prone, and just seems to get sped up too easy on offense. He's not a particularly great ball handler. I think right now, again, this is just right now, I think he's got it in him. He just needs a little more work, a little more time.
Yeah, and the turnovers, it's been an issue really all year, and it just manifested Saturday. When it hit a stretch, thank goodness UConn would turn it back over to Memphis. Right. But it was the bad news bears. It was turnover Memphis, turnover UConn, and almost wouldn't even get down into the lower blocks area of the court. It was all kind of at midcourt. If it was football, all the turnovers were between the 40-yard lines.
Yeah, it was. And yeah, it was just like, quarterback, like you're talking about football, it was quarterbacks throwing interceptions in between the 40s. And I mean, that just can't happen. I mean, if there was a better team in here that day, who didn't turn the ball over almost as much as Memphis did, then they get beat. The Tigers get beat. I believe that. And so that's got to get cleaned up, and Penny has made references over the past few days that they're going to take steps to do that.
There have been a couple of nights this year, and look at this is how it falls, and you need some luck, especially with some of the bad luck they've had to endure, most notably James Wiseman, and then some other things, including injuries like the DJ Jeffries. But there have been a couple of nights this year, thank goodness for the schedule, that was about the only team out there that the Tigers probably could have handled on a night. I will include Little Rock in that on that night. Fortunate to pull that one out. Kind of anybody a little bit better than Little Rock, they may have lost. Late in the game, blowing the big lead to Ole Miss, Tulane, even for sure USF on the road in both of the games last week.
Listen, you're not going to get a bigger cheerleader for a decisive outcome than me, than a deadline, somebody who's on a deadline.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm over this, everything, there's no clear cut outcome until the last 2 or 3 minutes of the game. I'm over that because it seems like it's every single game.
It really has been.
It's in the, it's in question late. So, and I think the Tigers are probably getting tired of that too. But all that being said, Temple's 11-10 and 3-6 in the AAC. So why not start tonight? No time like the present.
Jason Munn's our guest from the Commercial Appeal with us every Wednesday on the Tiger Beat for the CA, and nice enough to join us every Wednesday afternoon. Last thing for you, Jason, because I know you got to get in the building. Someone pretty close to Coach Hardaway told me today. I asked him, I said, "How's Coach doing?" He said, "Oh, he's fine." He almost likes that if indeed it is, it always can be rekindled. But if indeed the honeymoon's over and the real work has started, he's almost glad to be there because he wants to do it so badly for everybody, and that he knew it would get there, and that he's fine by it. Have you sensed that from him?
I mean, I do think that there could be something to that. I mean, because let's be honest, Penny Hardaway has been around basketball for a very long time. Now, that being said, he's never quite dealt with, I guess, a ton of adversity when you're talking about strictly between the lines on the floor.
Yeah,
on the
excluding
court.
Injury.
Right, or something that's happening away from basketball or something like that might happen. But as far as between the lines, X's and O's, strictly basketball, he's never really dealt with this much adversity. And but again, he's a smart guy. He's not a dummy, and he's been around basketball long enough to know that this was probably coming. Sooner or later, he wasn't just going to skate through and it was all going to be, perfect the whole way through. So I would assume that he prepared himself for this type of situation, these circumstances, and yeah, I mean, you know, what fun is it if everything comes easy?
That's
and,
right. And
I feel like
he saw it happen to his beloved Coach Larry Finch.
Yeah, and probably many other people that he looks up to.
Yeah,
have been through tough times. So I do feel like there's probably something to that he you know, just because it's not all sunshine and rainbows right now, that he's just you know, frustrated and down in the dumps or whatever. I think it's probably somewhat refreshing.
You get on the right kind of roll, and that honeymoon can always get rekindled, and it may start tonight with a resounding win over Temple. Jason, I'll see you in a little bit, and we sure appreciate you joining us every week. Thank you.
All right, appreciate it.
You got it. Jason Mons with the commercial. Darn, I wanted to ask Jason an AAF question since it was starting a year ago this weekend, and I forgot to. Dang it, a year ago last weekend. He was on the beat at Legion Field for the Express and the Birmingham
Iron.
Oh, thank you. Like, it was just that easy to you, wasn't it?
Of course. I worked for the AAF. I know it all.
That's right. Hey, look, at Gatlin Insurance Agency, they know sometimes that things come out of left field, like the AAF, and having a great game plan like the AAF didn't have, it makes all the difference. Luckily, Farmers Insurance has been helping people cover their bases for more than 90 years, and they can help you too. Let your local Farmers Insurance agent, that's Chad Gatlin, put his experience to work for you. Chad proudly serves Greater Memphis families and businesses, and he's ready to review your existing policies or provide a no-obligation quote today. If you're fine with everything, he'll tell you. If not, let him save you some money. Call Chad at 901-235-1176 or visit memphisfarmers.com to get smarter about your insurance. At Farmers, they've seen just about everything, so we know how to cover almost anything at Farmers. Talk to Chad today to see if you have the coverage you want for whatever curveballs may come your way. Call 901-235-1176 or go to memphisfarmers.com. National Signing Day, Round 2, the final one in the AAC. Cincinnati 1, Tulane 2, East Carolina 3, UCF 4, Memphis 5, according to 24/7 Sports. I think with the late start, look, Ryan Silverfield didn't get to do anything for that December period. He was trying to get ready for the biggest game in the history of the university. So he didn't have much out of that. A couple players that Mike Norvell was recruiting, I think he got one or two to go to Florida State and other places. So all in all, I think cobbled together a good recruiting class in his first one. It'll be much better in the future.
I think he did too. And you got to remember, with all the talent that we have coming back, it's not like he had to hit a home run this year.
He hit a home run with Brady White.
Yes.
And Coxie.
Or really even has to hit a home run next year because of the young talent we actually have right now. The home run recruiting class, I think it can wait 2 years. And as long as you have good, above average to good recruiting classes, you're going to be fine. You don't have to hit the home run.
I think we're going to have Coach Silverfield either tomorrow or maybe you and Dave on Friday. I'm going to be away on Friday. And whenever I can, I'm going to ask this. I'm not asking this at all in an offensive way. I brought it up yesterday. After these last 5 years, the best chapter in the history of Tiger football, and still you see these Shelby County players, a couple to Arkansas, a couple to Tennessee, and, one or maybe one to Ole Miss, Mississippi State. All the SEC, they still come in here. Even a player to Louisville, a player, I think, to Indiana, Arkansas State. I thought with a real good player that a lot of people liked. How are the Tigers still not locking down? Not locking down, but getting one or two of the 4 stars, not even 5 out of Shelby County.
It's just hard to really compete with the SEC monster. And regardless of how well you've done.
And they've done okay without them.
Yes. Regardless of how well you've done, it's hard to walk into a kid's living room and say, don't go to XP5 school where you can win a championship, come here. Now, that's the biggest disadvantage that you have.
I'll go back to something Justin Fuente told me. I'll use the player's name. It was Mark Dodson, recruited by everybody in the country out of Whitehaven. He was a fantastic high school player, had a big kickoff return to really start the fun that day in Oxford, the Katy Perry day, as the kickoff return guy. He busted one out to pass midfield. And Justin Fuente told me that he told him, you sign with me out of signing on signing day, don't ever come to me wanting to transfer. If you can't take me the first time, now it has really changed since then, the transfer portal and the transfer mania around college football. But I think if I'm Ryan Silverfield, I'd let those guys know I'm not going to be your safe landing place. If you don't take me, if you don't love me out of high school, I'm not going to be your it didn't go well at fill in the blank SEC place.
Don't call me when your playing time isn't what you thought it was or what they promised you it was going to be.
Is that too rigid?
No, I don't really think it is, because you want guys that are committed, buy into your vision, and if you didn't buy into it the first time, and especially if that vision hasn't changed, then I don't need you.
I know we got to get out early for Ole Miss, South Carolina, so it's time now for Crunch Time.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that?
Take questions again for the student athletes at this time, please.
What's happening, big dog? How you doing?
Is this thing working?
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Boop, boop, boop. That's what you're getting. Time for Taco Bell Crunch Time. Taco Bell, home of the crispy tortilla chips, topped with a double portion of either seasoned beef or shredded chicken, plus refried beans, nacho cheese sauce, reduced fat sour cream, guacamole, and a 3-cheese blend. Nachos Bel Grande, heaping portion of chips, topped with ground beef, tomatoes, beans, nacho cheese sauce, and a dollop of sour cream. Taco Bell, home to great food you get on your way home real fast, and they bring you crunch time every day. And Drew, I know I learned today that National Signing Day Part 2 came and went, and if you think coaches were happy after the December period, they're really happy now. Everybody signed, everybody they wanted to. They love their classes. They got the perfect mix of size and speed, offense and defense, running backs, linebackers. They got it all today. It is Christmas Day in college football. Nobody signed a bad class. It's a little bit like the Iowa caucuses the other night. Everybody wins. What a deal.
And the only person in history to ever be mad at the signing class was Will Muschamp a year ago.
I mean, you almost have to have that enthusiasm, even if it's sometimes fake going forward. I know this. We'll get to the field next year, and I can pretty much tell you who will win and who won't. Could have done without today. I just can't really figure out this team. Temple tonight. I'm looking forward to going to FedEx Forum and watching this team. They've had good wins. Dave mentioned the win over USC. I watched some of that game. Sometimes I can't figure out USC either. They had a win over Wichita State. I think we know they're good, but they had some really bad losses, a bunch of them, by 36 to Tulsa. That ain't 40, but it's close to it. They lost to Missouri. They're not any good. I don't think Conzo Martin's very good. He sure wasn't last night at Texas A&M. I don't think Temple's that good, but we'll see. They lost to Penn. The Tigers need to be sharp tonight. I don't know what the turnover total can be, but it can't be 24 again this year. You better only try that once.
Yeah, definitely don't need to be above 20 anymore. Don't need to be above 15 anymore.
Keeping a close eye tonight on the Tigers and Temple at FedEx Forum, 7 o'clock. Tip, be safe if you're driving downtown. I hope I see you, Grizz and Mavs, tonight in Dallas. Any more baseball trades tonight? Any more offseason wheeling and dealing? Mookie Betts to the Dodgers. Can you believe that John Henry and the Red Sox having to go austere, having to save money when they can? They normally just keep spending and don't have to worry about any cost. But even the Red Sox, it caught up a little bit to them with Mookie Betts. We got to get Tim Doolin on to talk about Mookie Betts because he's very, very close. See if there's any more front office moves around the NBA. The Knicks with the ouster of their president yesterday. And have we really gotten this sensitive in sports, again, for everybody to say that the Knicks parted ways with him? They moved away from him. No, they fired the man. Have we gotten that sensitive that we can't say firing?
Brent, I want you to do something for me. If by some reason I ever do get fired, I want you to tell people I was fired. I wasn't parted ways. Please be honest with them good folks. I've been fired before, too.
It happens. I hope it's not anytime soon before I do, but it'll be firing. It won't be parting ways. He was fired. Tonight on the hardwood, the cocktail party on the hardwood, nobody ever has called it that. LSU at Vandy, one undefeated in the league, one winless in the league, and South Carolina and Ole Miss. And they're next. For Dave, for Drew, I'm Brett. Talk to you tomorrow at 3.
It's not too early to start planning for spring at Family Leisure. New pools are starting at $19.99, spas starting at $21.99, and swim spas now only $99.99. 5-piece patio furniture starts at only $799. Pool chemicals, toys, accessories, and more up to 20% off. Mention this ad, you'll get free delivery and 1 month of chemicals with your spa